Yo, how you guys doing today? How are you guys doing today? Now, yesterday, studio, it's being annoying now. It's not what I like. It's not what I like. What the hell's going on here? Yo, now yesterday, I created a stream, and I was getting backfed a lot, and I don't want this to happen today, right? No backfeeding. No backfitting. So I need to check the audio to make sure we're perfect, right? Picture perfect. So now today we are going to be reacting to the reparations debate, right? Most black people think they deserve reparations, and I think that they have an argument. I think black Americans who are descendants from slaves have an argument, right? The way they're gonna get it is also an argument, right? And we're gonna stream two things at once, right? That's how good our connection is, right? We're gonna stream two things at once. But we're gonna commentate on it as well. I love to share it with you guys, man. Also, we're playing a game today. Light day today, you know what I'm saying? But also not a light day, because this is a very taboo subject as far as reparations. But we're gonna get into this live, and vibe with me, man. We're gonna rock this thing out. We're gonna rock this thing out, man. But please tell me if this stream is being backfed. I don't want bad quality for you guys. I do not want bad quality for you guys. But this is this debate was from Andrew Wilson, and there was a other popular black activist, I think. I don't know his name, but he has some really good arguments. Yes, I did watch this already, but I would like to share it with you guys and see what you guys have to say about this. See what you guys think, right? And now I'm gonna have to go back and forth with the audio, right? I have to pause the game sometimes, and I have to play the video for you guys, right? Because I have to react to it. I have to let you guys know how I feel about this as well, right? I gotta do my job. I don't want to just watch it through, let it play through, and not say anything, because that's the easy way out, right? That's trash. You don't want that. You want Coast Gang CB to react. If not, then what's the point, right? I ain't playing no free for all. Fuck all that, bro. I ain't trying to get whooped on this game. Not starting off. We gotta do team deathmatch. We gotta get teams on this thing. You know what I'm saying? But yes, please let me know if I'm being backfed here, and we gonna get this right. We gonna get that audio right. But for right now, we gonna play this live and direct. Do black people deserve reparations? Let's get it.
Is Jake Rattlesnake.
I like to go by Lord Rattlesnake or Lord Jake, most base chat of all the lands.
You don't have an argument. Present your...
I feel like you're being overtalked or you're not getting enough of a say, then you can appeal to the moderator and you can ask me if you would like to get more speaking time. Try not to get personal with the insults. We like to have a nice, clean debate without getting into any of that personal stuff. And I'm sure I had other rules, but I can't really remember them right now because it's like 1:30 a.m. But anyways, Austin, you'll be starting off with your 5-minute opening statement. So with that, 5 minutes on the clock, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to thank everybody that's watching this for being here. And tonight, I just want to begin with a very simple proposition. A society that believes in justice cannot celebrate restitution when it benefits us and then reject it when it challenges us. So my position is very simple. It's not that America is an irredeemably racist nation. That is not my position. My position is not that every racial disparity is evidence of discrimination. My position is not that any living American should be held personally guilty for the sins of the past. My position is much simpler. Government caused harm. The government can measure that harm. Therefore, the government has an obligation to repair that harm. The first premise of my argument is simply...
Now, first of all, I want to start off with, is that true or not? Did the government cause harm to black American people, right? And like I said, I watched this debate before, and his point, his reparations argument debate is coming from post-slavery, right? Post-slavery, when black people got they stuff together, where they still put under some type of some type of racist laws, right? Were they still marginalized? Were they still targeted, right? One may ask. But let's hear it.
This systemic racism existed because government institutions deliberately enacted policies that directly disadvantaged Black Americans. This is not a matter of opinion, it is a matter of historical record. Federal, state, and local governments enforced slavery, enforced segregation, they enforced exclusion from housing markets, and enforced policies that prevented millions of Black Americans from accumulating wealth that could have been passed to their children. The question is not whether these policies existed. The question is whether we are willing to acknowledge the consequences that they produced, and they are long lasting. The second premise is that the racial wealth gap did not emerge from thin air. Wealth is not created in a single generation. It is transferred across them. Homes are inherited, businesses are inherited, investments are inherited, land is inherited. If one group was systematically prevented from acquiring and passing down assets for centuries, then it should not surprise us that the descendants of those families possess less wealth than anyone else today. If a father is robbed before he can leave an inheritance to his children, the injury does not disappear when he dies. His children inherit those consequences. The third premise is simple. Justice requires restitution when a wrong has been committed. We recognize this principle everywhere else. If the government wrongfully takes your property, compensation is owed. If the government wrongfully imprisons you, compensation is owed. If the government destroys your land through eminent domain, compensation is owed. Why should government-inflicted racial injury be the one category of harm for which compensation is considered unthinkable? And finally, as a Christian, I would argue that restitution is not merely an American principle, it is a biblical one. Scripture teaches forgiveness, but it also teaches restoration. When Zacchaeus encountered Christ, he did not simply apologize, he made restitution. Justice was not completed by words alone, it required action. You know, the whole faith without works is dead kind of thing. So let me be clear about what I'm defending tonight. I am not here to defend Black people having perpetual victimhood. I am not defending racial resentment. I am not defending the idea that Black Americans are incapable of succeeding without government assistance. I am defending a principle older than the Constitution and older than the Republic itself. When a wrong is committed, the obligation to repair that wrong does not disappear simply because time has passed. And
now, so far, do you agree with him? Do you agree that restitution is owed when wrongdoing is done, right? Everywhere else in this country, right, we understand that concept, right? If you do somebody wrong, restitution is due. Just like if you cause a crime and you hurt somebody, right? You inflict pain on somebody else, right? Don't you go to jail? Ain't there consequences to your actions, right? Everywhere else, right? I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but everywhere else we understand the concept of. Now I'm looking at this game today. You understand the concept of restitution, right? Now, were Black people slaves back then? No, they weren't, right? But we have generations now that has lived during Jim Crow, lived during the times where, dang, that's crazy to me. Lived during the times where they were still marginalized. There's still people alive to this day that know what segregation looks like. So it's not like it just, once slavery stopped, everything just stopped, right? They just stopped marginalizing and doing things to Black people that affects them wholeheartedly, right? Now, also, when it comes to Black people, right? You can't tell us to shut up and stop complaining and pull your stuff up by the bootstraps when you never had to do that, right? You never had to do that, right? You had things to work with as far as you were. If there's an open market, you got to participate in it, right? As far as your family, not you particularly, but your family had a chance to participate in this open market of America that we didn't get to because of how we were looked at, or our skin color. It's not fair, right? We got a late start at the game, but yet everybody expects us to just say, shut up, be quiet and just deal with it, right? And I understand that sometimes you got to be stoic. You can't make the same excuses you made yesterday. Yeah, but you got to be stoic. I understand that. But you also got to understand the argument and why it's still being brought up, because it makes sense. Like, in my head, it makes sense. Not just because I'm Black, because it makes sense, because if your family was left something, right? As far as property, whatever, and just investments from their parents, right? They were able to participate in the economy to where they could build these benefits for the next generation, but our family wasn't. But yet you're telling us to shut up. I know it's not fair, but just deal with it. But anywhere else you can understand that if your family was taken away from you or dealt a bad hand, wouldn't you complain, or you would just say, "Oh, you know what? I know it's not fair. I'm gonna just deal with it." No, eventually you won't just do, because it wasn't fair for me. It wasn't fair to me. All right, these things didn't just come out of nowhere. As far as black people becoming violent and all this other stuff, we didn't start off that way. Even post slavery, we didn't start off like that. So it's disingenuous for you to say, "Oh, black people are just violent," right? They cause a lot of crime, which is true. I'm not saying that's not true, but why? Right? The why matters, right? And this is why people want reparations, because you targeted these small communities within the black community, and we'll get more into it later on inside the debate.
If government policy helped create the injury, then government bears responsibility for helping prepare it. That is not socialism. That is not Marxism. That is not communism. That is not charity. That is not collective guilt. That is restitution. And restitution, simply put, is justice.
All right, Andrew, 5 minutes.
Right. Thank you for that. Let me get into my opening here. Sorry. I was just taking some notes as we were going through yours. So I'm going to take a few minutes to lay out both my argument and my opponent's general position. As it turns out, I got this exactly right. He made the exact argument that I thought he would. My opponent here has a fairly standard left-wing position on reparations and institutional racism. It just goes something like this. The United States endorsed slavery and held slavery as an institution for most of its early history. Due to this, even post-freedom for said slaves, they didn't have the same advantages as other Americans, especially white Americans, due to the fact that they were not compensated for hundreds of years of slave labor, starting even before the founding, by the way. To offset this, the United States government needs to take corrective action to create equity between Black Americans and other Americans to offset this injustice, which has kept Black Americans perpetually behind due to wealth inequality, racism, and other sub-factors which are fundamentally unfair. Like I said, predicted it perfectly. Now to my argument. Black regression in the United States has very little to do with institutions at all, let alone institutional slavery or the institution of slavery. And instead, it has to do with what I call preference theory. In order to be successful in life, there are many factors, but there are essentially three factors which all factors relate to. These factors are true of humans regardless of demographic, location, tribe, city, nation, and are historically true at all times and all places. And it doesn't matter if it's Jesus Christ or Genghis Khan. Those are social skills, delayed gratification, and long-term goals. These are often referred to in a variety of ways. The 3 C's of success, which is just a variation, or Stoic philosophy, which gives another variation. There are many variations of these ideas, but they come down essentially to these 3 factors. Now, how these are deployed will depend greatly on culture for application, but regardless of culture, the people in it who are successful will almost always, without exception, have these 3 traits. Now, some cultures frown on these traits, and as you can imagine, the success rate for such cultures tends to be low in almost all aspects of technology, language, arts, culture, and agriculture. To nobody's shock, cultures with large white populations tend to prioritize these attributes and maximize them, leading to high amounts of individuals who are successful. Many Black Americans, on the other hand, have otherized themselves from what they perceive as white culture, determined to make a subculture which rejects, quote, white tenets, which is mostly just the application of Christian ethics, which pushes virtue. And if you follow virtue, these attributes tend to come along with it. It's pretty simple, right? Through self-otherization, meaning not part of the dominant cultural value set, these attributes are rejected. So how's that done? Let's look at social skills. Many American Black people purposely utilize a form of inferior English as language, which makes it difficult to understand and have common parlance with them. They dress in ways that are normally impractical, with clothing many times.
He's talking about ebonics, man. He's talking about ebonics. And I mean, so far he's saying that, I mean, the reason why Black people are failing is because of culture, right? They value things that is that's not productive to be successful. So how do you expect that community to build if they're worshiping things that's not making their community successful, like game banging, the way you dress, pants sagging, things like that, right? Instead of putting your pants up, right? You think that's normal. You think that's okay, right? But to be successful in life, you looked at as it's not going to work because people don't want to work with you. They think you're dangerous. And also, I really don't want to play this game right now. I'm not going to lie. But, I got to do this because I got to stay entertaining. So basically, black people we are not successful because our own doing, right? What we value as people and what we push in front of our children's eyes, which is the next generation, and what we tolerate as black people, right? And some aspects, I get them. I understand. Like in real deal time, yes, that's very much true. But the problem is, you got to understand how we got here. We didn't start off like that, right? Black people did not start off violent, pants sagging. The culture, that's not our culture, right? Because post-slavery, when we had segregation and we had to survive and we had to use our own bus stations, we had to use our own stuff, right? We created those avenues and we were the most married and we were the most we were doing better than white Americans, all right? So what made us, right? If you're a logical person and you want to hold black people accountable outside of just judging them and saying it's wrong to do, which is fair too, because once you know better, you do. Once you know better, you do better. You just choose not to do better, which is fair. Black people are not doing better. They know better at this point, right? But how do we get there, right? We didn't get there from just waking up one day and say, you know what, we want Tookie Williams, right? Forget Malcolm X, forget Martin Luther King. Let's get Tookie Williams in here. Let's he's our new leader. Let's value him, right? No. That's not our culture. That's not what we stand for. But I'm just dying on here. There's no reason for me to play this. But the government gave us him, right? He was close to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, the thing is that this small, minute black community in this country, right? Post-slavery, we didn't have a culture. Slave culture is not a culture, right? So we built our own culture outside of slavery when segregation and Jim Crow was happening, right? We were successful, right? We found a way to make it out, right? Make it out and stay stoic and become something without the government's help, whatever. While simultaneously being targeted by this big government that targets countries, right? And outside of that, these countries that they target don't even make it, right? They crumble under pressure. So mind you, we're 13% of the population, right? And we were targeted by this big government that targets other governments and destroy them from inside out with propaganda, with switching out leaders. And we are usually targeted. Not usually. Sorry, I'm trying to focus while playing the game at the same time, but I gotta stay. I gotta stay on point. So we were targeted, and our leaders that kept us in line as far as the things that we value, like Malcolm X and the Black Panther Party, the government took them away from us. This wasn't done just because these people were violent, they were causing crime. They was against that. What made them take those people away from us? Understand it. What made them take the people away from us? Because I don't see the government involved in most stuff now, because this is exactly where they wanted us to be. They wanted us to devalidate Malcolm X, right? The teachings of Malcolm X and the Black Panther Party, and they want us to activate and love, right? The Crips and Bloods and stuff like that. That doesn't matter. That doesn't push for peace. Doesn't push for sticking up for yourself and being stoic. Don't drag your pants. Don't look like a fool. Don't be a fool. Love your family. All that. They wanted us to do rid of that, and they did it. They did it happily, right? But now we're being blamed, right? This is why I think that white people, to understand this, and we've given them pushback because it's wrong. Because you telling us to, yeah, even though most countries don't come back from the government's wrongdoing, we got to come back from it. We got to shut up and just deal with it. So what? Just be stoic. So what? Just deal with it. So what? Just, even though y'all went through that, be quiet and just be stoic. No, not everybody gonna make it. Majority ain't gonna make it, because how you gonna expect? During the times post-slavery, we were doing well for a very long time and still being bothered by the government, right? It took us a long time to get this terrible culture that we complain about today, but nobody cared. But now we're supposed to say, do away with this culture, right? And just figure out again. Y'all expect so much out of the black community. Y'all don't like us so much. Y'all say we're degenerate, we're crazy, it isn't that, we're low IQ and all this other stuff, right? And not saying he necessarily said it, but this is what we're going through today. Y'all saying all this stuff about black people, but y'all expect us as these low IQ, violent mother effers can't get it right and just are violent, right? Y'all expecting us to just, you know what, wake up. Y'all couldn't even do it, right? Wake up and just do good. And no matter what's against you, wake up, do good. That's a lot to ask from people. If countries can't do it, what makes you think these communities, small community, could do it, man? Let's get it.
Times too big for them, creating an actual functional clothing issue where their undergarments are purposely showing, not to mention being unfit for work. Once upon a time, this could possibly have been attributed to poverty, but in modernity, these clothes are often more expensive than their more functional counterparts. Violence is much more acceptable socially and publicly, leading to social disputes being ended in a violent manner in comparison to other population demographics, further eroding social skills. Next, delayed gratification. Bling culture, get that bag, my money, is often sought after using fast and non-repeatable methods, which carry high risk rather than slow and methodical, which is the cultural norm. This manifests often as drug dealing, petty theft, breaking and entering, mugging, etc. These things can bring in cash quickly, but carry high risk and long term aren't repeatable due to imprisonment or death. These intersect with long term goals, which aren't sought after, but rather instant gratification.
Health for California offers affordable health insurance coverage starting at $0 a month.
Now, the way in which mental illness is identified is only one way, and that is deviation away from societal and social norms when it comes to behavior. If X amount of norms are violated, we categorize that as a form of mental illness. Example of this, a serial killer. If a serial killer engages in behavior which is so abnormal, which they do, we put it in the mental illness category. However, if in a culture everybody was a serial killer, as the norm, they would likely believe the non-serial killer was mentally ill. It isn't that in the 21st century racism is a problem, it's quite the contrary. It is simply that humans are pattern recognition machines, and if we see too many pattern deviations from the norm, we categorize that as mental illness for the purpose of our safety, regardless of culture and regardless of creed. If my opponent was walking down the street and a man was mumbling to himself, hunched over naked, and routinely stabbing himself with a thumbtack, he would immediately categorize the behavior as irregular and therefore mental illness. He would likely seek to avoid this person. And this is what happens with modern race relations. The color of the skin is.
I think he's trying to say that black people are violent, and this is why that white people are trying to stay away from black people, because they have a culture full of serial killers, or not full of them, but they validate serial killers, right? We're not the same, right? And I understand them on that standpoint because, yeah, I get it. Like, y'all not gonna understand this destructive culture of your friends being unalived. You gotta carry you gotta carry a weapon with you at all times because you don't know what's gonna go down. Y'all don't know that. Y'all don't understand that. So I get it. So why be around it? I understand that wholeheartedly, right? I gotta be fair with it.
Seemingly less of a factor than the irregularity of behavior, which people identify immediately as otherized mental illness, and avoid this set categorized group for the purpose of personal safety.
That's 5.
I'm almost done. You mind giving me just a minute or two, and I'll have plenty of time to respond? Is that
Good
fair?
with that, Austin?
Well, I mean, I've confined mine to 1 to 5 minutes. I don't know what he needs an extra 2 minutes. But he's doing exactly
fine.
what I anticipated him doing anyway.
That's fine. If you don't, I'll stick to the rules, bait, if you want to.
Yep. If you guys want to just leave it at that, then open dialogue. Go for it.
So, are you saying, Andrew, that black culture developed in a vacuum, or are you saying that centuries of slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, fatherlessness induced by incarceration, school segregation, and exclusion from asset building had no serious cultural effect? Because what you're doing is attacking the symptoms of a problem that has a root in what I said in my opening statement, which you didn't address.
I did address it.
No, you didn't.
I did. I'm saying that.
So I'm going to repeat the question. Are you saying that black culture developed in a vacuum? Let's start there.
No culture develops in a vacuum.
Okay, then. So what created the conditions that you're citing, such as the baggy clothing, the tendency towards criminality? What created those conditions, Andrew?
Well, I'm even willing to cede that there could be disparity or an inequity or things like this, which could have contributed to creating conditionals which people move towards. but that really would have no bearing on the argument at all.
No, not willing to cede. Are you saying, if you admit that black culture did not develop in a vacuum, okay?
Yeah.
So if a government locks people out of land, housing, capital, education, and legal protection, and then later points to the dysfunction created in those conditions, that's not an argument against the existence at one point in the history of this nation of systemic racism. That's in fact evidence of its consequences. And in fact, crime is not caused by melanin. There are multiple studies conducted that crime correlates with poverty.
Hang on real quick. Kind of. You're kind of right there. There is a correlation with poverty. There's no doubt that that's true, but that really has no bearing on the argument that I'm making. Can you steel man the argument that I'm making?
Andrew, you made an argument that black culture is toxic. What I'm asking you to do,
I didn't make that's not the argument.
Can you steel man my the three premises that I laid out in my opening statement? Can you steel man those?
Yeah, I'll steel man the entirety of your position. That due to systemic oppression, it created conditions, and those particular conditionals kept black people behind other specific groups like white people, for instance, possibly others. And what you're trying to do is create some form of equity and catch black people up, essentially, due to this disparity.
That's not a steel man of my position, because
let's make sure I got it right.
Well, right. So I'm going to restate my three premises. One, the United States federal government caused measurable harm. Two, justice requires restitution for measurable harm. Three, therefore, the government of the United States owes restitution.
Okay, let's make sure I got them right. USA caused measurable harm. Premise two?
Premise two, justice requires restitution for documentable measured harm. And premise
justice requires restitution. Okay.
Therefore, premise three, the U.S. government owes restitution. And by the way, I'm not even dealing with slavery. I'm confining this specifically to Jim Crow. I'm going to leave slavery alone for this conversation.
Okay. So is the government always required to pay restitution as a moral obligation because that's what you consider justice to be? Let's make sure we got that clear.
Are they always required to do it? I'm not speaking of that. That's not a properly phrased question. I'm not going to say they're always required to do it. I'm saying that if
are they required to do it as part of justice?
If you're going to say as a part of justice within the confines of what we're speaking about, within the measurable harm that the U.S. government caused black Americans through Jim Crow and redlining and exclusionary policies, yes, that would be part of justice.
And do you consider the modern government to be an extension of the same exact government that we had in the 1780s and 1790s?
If by an extension you mean the fact that the government has continued to exist, then by that definition, yes.
Okay. So even if the Constitution has changed many, many, many times, including the ideas of universal suffrage and other things like this, you still consider the modern government to be the same exact type of government as we had.
No, that is not what I said, Andrew. That's not what I said.
Okay.
Our government exists as an extension of our Constitution, which is a living document. So, and you ceded already that the government.
What I'm trying to figure out is whether or not it is the case that even if I ceded the argument that justice requires restitution, it seems to me that in this context, the restitution would be required by the people who actually caused it, not the people who are dealing with it. Seems like the people who are dealing with it would also deserve restitution.
Andrew, that doesn't make any sense, because
how does it not make sense?
We're dealing with, I'll tell you why. Because what I'm dealing with an institution. The United States federal government is the institution in question here. The United States federal government.
But is it the same government?
Just because you change the person in office does not change what happened in this country. This is a country. This is not based on he wants to base it on since Joe Biden got out of office, right, and all the immigrants came in. You can't hold how do I say this? Basically, he's saying, well, since those people got out of office, you can't hold the government accountable because it's not the same government when America is an entity, regardless, right? It would have been several of presidents that passed by while this was happening. So who do you hold accountable? It's like, you can't hold anybody accountable then, because if you get a person out of office, you got to hold the new person accountable for the bad things that happen to black people. That's like, bro, that's a trash argument. I get what he's saying. Like, you can't just say the government did it, right? Well, the government is forever changing, right? So I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that ultimately America understands just due, right? America understands giving reparations for bad things that happen, right? They do it for the Indians. They still do it, right? They still got their own land. You can't say, well, since back then they conquered Indians and stuff like that, we should strip away all things that are given to the Indians due to what happened to them, right? The colonization and all that. No, we understand. Ultimately, America understands this. Why is it so hard when it comes to black people? People can't figure this out. They just can't figure it out. You still get perks as an Indian, right? A descendant of an Indian. No matter what your grandparents or ancestors went through, right? They didn't go through it, but it's some way, somehow, they always find a point they always find a reason to deny reparation. They understand that it can happen because it always happened, even with Israel, right? We still give them perks in this country due to what happened to them, right? You still can't criticize them in a certain way because of what happened to them, right? But when it comes to black people, get over it. Just get over it. My thing is, as a fellow American, right, our ancestors still participated in war in this country to protect the sovereignty of this country, yet we were slaves. We were done wrong, Jim Crow, segregation. We still participated in in benefiting this country, right? We still participated in benefiting this country while being while having the country's boot on our neck, right? And nobody gave a care. But we still did our job as American black people. We still did our freaking job, right? We are descendants of veterans as well. While the country was literally utilizing our ancestors as slave labor. But yet, when it comes to benefiting us, no, you don't deserve that. You just don't. I can't understand it. Why can't you understand it? What's blocking that understanding when we've always understood that? Why when it comes to black people? Well, no, I understand reparations, but black people, hell no. Like, it's beneath you. Dude, you play most conservatives, right? And I'm a conservative individual, but I understand the party I'm around and what people say, right? Because I have conversations with them, real conversations. You gave your money to Ukraine and you didn't agree with it. Why, when it comes to your American that's putting in the same work, that's willing to put in the same pain as you, fight side by side with you to protect your sovereignty, protect your family's sovereignty, right? In this country, why can't you make it right with us? Because we're not playing on the same playing field, right? I have to get it out the mud due to what was done to me, due to what was done to my family, right? If you inherited certain lands and stuff like that, you understand that you're not gonna give it back and say, it's not fair. Let me just start off from the jump. Like, let me just start off on your playing field, because your family was not able to acquire this due to them being oppressed and taken out of this game that we call hard work, right? They weren't able to work hard because it didn't matter. They weren't able to play in this economic this economy that we both built, right? Because we both have to participate in war. We both have to participate in the sovereignty. We both have to participate as good citizens. But yet my people was put under the thumb of America, right? While we try to do right. Because when you look at those times that we were oppressed, and this is you can look this shit up. I'm not just making this shit up. Fuck what I'm saying. These are not just words. You can look up history. We were oppressed. We were still making it out. You didn't have that problem, but you don't understand where I'm coming from. At some point, I believe that y'all trying to not understand it, and it's fine. It's okay, but be real. Don't try to play it like you don't understand it when you do. You do. You get it. You just don't see yourself. You just don't see yourself as a person, right? Giving your tax dollars as if like you always do to something you don't truly agree with, which is your black brethren, right? We're all Americans. Why can't you make it right? Why? Why aren't you okay with making it right? You okay with giving your money to Ukraine and fighting for no fucking reason? You're okay with giving your money to Israel even though you don't agree with it? But when it comes to your American that's willing to fight with you back to back to protect this country, fuck no, I don't want to do that. Nah, hell no. That's when this giving out taxes for things that I don't agree with, that's when that stops. It's nuts to me. It's nuts to me. And it shows that y'all don't really value y'all don't really value us as average everyday Americans, just like you, working hard. Not every black person is causing crime. We working hard just like you, but understand that economic plane that you got, and you know those homes that was given to you, right? Because most nowadays if you gonna play in this economy, buying a house, you need some help. Being real, most of these people that I know, that and this is anecdotal for sure, and not all, but most of the white people I know was given houses. Well, you got something to work with. Fuck it. We don't get that. Why? Because most of it trickles down to we wasn't able to play in this field. Yeah, it's been time over time. Yeah, some people did. Some people did make it out. I'm not gonna make excuses for everybody, but you gotta understand that most of the time, if you got help and you got a lake house and all this other stuff, well, now the lake house is fucking worth millions of dollars, like, and your grandparents gave it for $1 or however much they had to pay for that to get it. We wasn't able to play in that same economic, the same economy as them, right? So it has to be some type of reconciliation. It has to be fair. If not, then how can I work beside you, willing to risk my life beside you, but you think I'm less than because you don't think I deserve it? You didn't think my ancestors deserve it, right? It's not right, bro. We came to America and we participated in building America. That's post-slavery, Vietnam War, right? Most wars, we participate in that. We didn't say no, we were slaves. Forget it. I don't want to have nothing to do with this. We participated in that, but y'all still don't want to make it right with us. Is this beyond y'all, right?
Respond in full, Andrew. I know you don't want to hear it this way. And by the way, this is not a leftist argument. I'm arguing from a conservative, actually from a conservative position and from
What's
a Christian
conservative
position.
about it, or Christian?
Well, let's start with biblically. I'm going to quote the same thing that I said to white privilege in the debate that we did on reparations. Show me anywhere in the Bible where when a party is wronged, the Bible does not advocate for restitution. In fact, when the example that I provided was Zacchaeus,
The Sermon on the Mount.
What about the Sermon on the Mount, Andrew?
Sermon on the Mount is literally says,
tell me what part?
Yeah, if you're slapped in one cheek, to offer up the other cheek to be slapped. That's not, but the restitution be the
First of all,
opposite of
that's
restitution.
that's a misapplication of what Jesus was talking about, because in Jewish culture, what he was doing, he said, if a man
Talking
slaps
about
you on the
class.
cheek, turn to. When Jesus is quoting that, if you're going to quote the Lord, let's quote him in context. When he's talking about that, he's saying if a man slaps you on the cheek, turn to the other also. He's speaking about being defiant, especially in his case, in the face of injustice. So let's start, and you're dragging the conversation away from what we need to focus on. So I'm going to restate this.
Well, we're focusing right now on premise 2,
which is that the government. So you're ceding premise 1. The government did cause measurable harm. So hold on, before we go back, you are ceding premise 1 that the government did cause measurable harm to black.
Well, I'm not ceding it right now. I'm just attacking premise 2 because it seems like it's an obvious premise.
I'm asking you a question, Andrew. Are you ceding?
Yeah, no, I'm not ceding it. No.
Okay, why are you not ceding it?
Because right now, all I have to do is have one of these premises fall, and the entire argument collapses.
Well,
and
you can't make premise 2 fall if premise 1. If you can't deal with premise 1, so I'm going to start back at premise 1. Did the United States federal government cause measurable harm to black Americans?
What do you consider harm to be?
Andrew, answer the question.
I can't unless you qualify what harm is.
Well, let's start with the fact that black Americans were not treated as citizens. They were prohibited from owning homes. They were prohibited from being treated as full human beings. I mean, are you just going to be this deliberately intellectually obtuse this entire debate and ignore history?
If you bring me a formal argument, don't get mad that I make you explain the words in it.
Andrew, I'm bringing you a formal argument. The argument is redlining. The argument is Jim Crow.
Hang on, stop. You brought me a 3-premised formal argument, and you're getting mad that I'm making you define.
I'm not mad, Andrew. I'm holding you to task on something.
Then good.
You don't want to be
describe for me what harm is.
Anything that did not allow black Americans to gain and have full equal protection under the law, which is what the Constitution guaranteed us. The same thing that Martin Luther King said to us in the last speech that he gave in I've Been to the Mountaintop. All we're saying to America is be true to what you're saying on paper. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Did the United States federal government always, and let me rephrase the question, did the United States always treat black Americans as if they were equivalent to white Americans in this country?
Of course not. No.
Okay, then. So now you've ceded premise 1. Thank you, Andrew, for being somewhat intellectually honest.
If you're asking me about what harm is, well, I'm asking you what harm is, and you just say harm is anything which leads to bad outcomes for black people, basically. Is that right? From the governmental level. So if it was a bad outcome,
Any government-backed policy or any government-initiated policy that excluded black people from being treated as equal citizens under the law, that is harm, Andrew.
okay. So any government-backed policy, which would you say like discriminatory, perhaps, which was discriminatory, is
I
harm?
think you're smart enough to understand that.
Yeah, again, you don't. There's no actual reason for you to be combative on me.
Not
Just
combative.
making sure
You're
that I
running
understand.
from addressing the core of my point.
Bro, just calm down. Listen to what I'm saying.
I'm calm, Andrew.
I just want to make sure that we understand the actual argument and its clarity, so that we can make sure that it's consistent with
The
what the
chat
values
understands the
are.
argument quite well. You're the one struggling with it.
Yes, of course I'm struggling with. I don't know what you mean by the words, and I'm making sure that I do. So
smart as you
when
are,
you
Andrew, you
say
know
the
exactly
word
what I mean by the
harm,
words.
government-backed policy, which was discriminatory towards black people, correct?
Correct.
Okay, got it. So now I understand what that means. So we can move from premise one. And I'll say, yes, the government has definitely backed policy, which was discriminatory towards black people.
So you see the premise one. Thank you.
Sure. Well, now that I understand what harm means. So when we get to justice, it requires restitution. What are we defining justice as?
What I would define.
Andrew, man, look, I like Andrew Wilson. I'm not going to say I don't like him, bro, but you understand what he meant by that. He didn't have to go that far into depth to understanding what harm is to black people. We all understand that. Black people complain about it every day. Every they won't let you forget, bro. At this point, you know better. Like, come on, don't play the game. That's why he's getting frustrated. And I think that's also a strategic way of getting your opponent off his rocker a little bit, because you understand. It's like small talk. You understand why black people are complaining. This is not coming out of nowhere. These complaints are legit. It did happen in history. You can look it up. We ain't gotta make this up, right? And I gave y'all the context of the continual outside of slavery, the continual oppression that they put on black people. Now, mind you, I'm a conservative as well. I understand to pick yourself up by the bootstraps, but at one point you're gonna have to be honest. At some point, you got to be honest. Like, okay, I get why black people are walking around like chickens with their head cut off, because they had it together. They literally had it together. Black people had it together post-slavery, during the Jim Crow time. They had it together. What made them? What took them off the rockers like a hornet's nest? That was building the nest. Somebody disrupted them from getting that honey. Right? They usually are honey getting folks. What made them stop? What stopped them from doing that? What made them change from doing that to doing this? Doing things that would disrupt their legacy, disrupt their mindset, right? What happened? And I think that some people know what happened, but they're gonna they need you to, in order for them to feel better about themselves, they need you to forget that, because it sounds better. Just forget it. I don't want to feel good, and I don't think it's a white person thing. I think it's a governmental thing, and I don't understand why white people take attack to that. Why do white people think that it's an attack on them? Like, well, I shouldn't have to pay for what my ancestors did, bro. Like, it's not about your ancestors, but also I want to say it's not an attack on you, because when you paying taxes for everybody else, is it an attack on you? No, you understand it's just something you got to do because you ain't willing to crash out about it. You're not willing to go to war about it. So why now? Why do you care now? That's my thing. When it comes to your fellow brother, and that you know that put in work side by side with you. You got black veterans and white veterans that have war stories about, you know what I'm saying, about what, you know, they people, and sometimes they comrades are white. It has nothing to do with skin color. But when it comes to that specific thing, oh, you can't make it about a race. You can't do that. Bro, be fair. Be fair. That's all we want is fairness. If you can't be fair, ultimately, then we have no reason to be around you. That's just like your friend. If I'm over here giving my life for you in this country, right, and I'm holding the same values as you, but the country don't look at me the same, that I'm willing to die for. Wait, what game we playing? I'm willing to die for this country, but I'm expecting something too. Don't tell me not to expect nothing, because we got here on two different playing fields. You probably came from a, you know what I'm saying, your family probably came from a horrible place too, but y'all didn't come on a slave ship. Outside of the slave ship, y'all wasn't oppressed and targeted by this government, right? Y'all was able to participate in the economy unbothered. Imagine with the boot put on your neck and everybody around you shaming you, saying, "Well, get up off your butt and do this." I don't care what you went through. Get up off your butt and do that. I don't care. No, at some point I'm gonna say I understand why you mad. I get it. And it wasn't fair, right? But then when they unleashed the depression, right, the oppression, they said, "Get better." Pat on the back. Get better. Do your thing. Come on, man. Right? And I don't unleash the oppression by taking your leaders out. That kept you guys stoic. That kept the mindset of going, right? Because we had to create our own culture outside of slave culture. We were doing good. We created the right thing. We found the formula. The government took it away from us. They took those stoic individuals who taught good things outside of game banging, inside your pants, suit wearing mother effers back in the day. You took those people on purpose. This is not up for debate. While white people if y'all was so loving and didn't want to pay reparations, and why didn't you tell the government to leave us alone? Why didn't you say, you know what, we are segregated. They're not causing crime. They're doing the best they can. The KKK keep messing with us, right? That organization, made by the Democrats. They bothering us. Why didn't you go to the government and say, right, this needs to stop? Just like the abolitionists went. Stop bothering these people. Leave them alone. Now, the hornet's nest is discombobulated. You got everything in the world to say, every excuse in the world to no, you just can't. Why can't we get reparations? You just can't. I don't know why. You just can't. You're going to make me feel bad. You're going to punish me. You're going to punish me. At this point, you should be punished because as an American, why didn't your people help us? Right? Why didn't they find it within themselves to say, you know what, at least leave these people to creep alone. They're not bothering you. So everybody was living their own life, participating in an economy that we wasn't able to. But now when they stopped and they disrupted everything, get better. Shut up. Be quiet. Stop complaining. Get better. It don't seem like you're my ally. It don't seem like you want what's best for me. It sounds like you just want to shut the noise up. But when a baby cries, sometimes you got to go check on the baby, man. Sometimes.
So now, are you essentially asking? Let me make sure that I understand what you're asking. What would you define as justice? That way, I can properly answer the question.
That would have no bearing on anything.
That would have no bearing on anything. Yeah. Well, in my world,
you don't need to know my position to know your position, dude.
No, I'm asking. No. I didn't say I needed to know your position. I asked.
Great, then just tell me what justice means.
So the word game. I'm going to play it with you. What would you define? How do you define
justice?
It's
not relevant. It's not my argument. It's yours. So what does justice mean?
So Andrew, we're going to try this one more time. In this case, justice would be policies done to remove any lasting economic barriers or any lasting racial barriers that may be preventing African Americans, in this particular case, from wealth generation or the ability to maintain wealth once accumulated.
So justice in this context is only towards Black Americans.
No, that's not the case at all. And
then what is justice?
Within the confines of what we're talking about, we're talking about Black Americans.
Okay, yeah. So when you say the word justice, what does that mean, dude?
What it means, I just defined what it means.
Well, no, you said specifically it means
justice is giving. All right, let's try this one more time.
Dude, just let me actually answer the question. I'll let you answer it. Okay, let me ask it. Here you say justice requires restitution. That's a formal premised argument. That's premise 2. All I'm asking you here is, what does justice mean? So I can make sure that I'm following the argument. You brought the formal
justice is giving. Okay, so I'm going to respond to you now. I'm going to try this one more time. Justice is giving what is due. Within the context of this debate, I'm going to say that justice means that when a person or an institution causes measurable harm, there is a moral obligation to repair that harm to the degree that it can be reasonably repaired. Now, I'm not defining justice as equal.
That's very understandable, right? If you fall and slip on a banana peel, right, at Walmart, you got the right to sue. Hey, you should have known better, right? But this is much more deeper than Walmart slipping on a banana, because this is intentional. They put that banana there intentionally and saying, shut up, be quiet, after we disrupt your culture that you created outside of being oppressed and being used as cattle, right? After you figure it out and you're no longer under the shackles of a slave master, now you need to shut up and just be stoic. Come on now. Now when I oppress you, when I keep disrupting this this beehive from doing what they do best, because it was working at the time, which was building and not asking for help, because we couldn't get no help. So you couldn't ask for help. Not asking for help, you took that away from us. And now you're blaming us after doing that and saying, so what? Who cares? Deal with it. Deal with it. But meanwhile, we still fighting for this country. Meanwhile, we still going to work. Meanwhile, we still got to pay into this tax system. We still getting taxed just like you getting taxed. If we doing legit stuff, right? And we trying to be law-abiding citizens. We still doing what you doing. Yet this country feels this way about us, right? We came here on ships, right? Which I don't believe, but yeah, it's foolish. It's foolish, man.
Outcome. I am not defining justice as racial revenge. I'm defining it as restitution for wrongful harm.
Okay, so justice is giving what is due. Is that correctly how you're defining justice?
He literally is saying, right, and he asked the question several times, and like I said, he got him off his rocker a little bit. He's getting frustrated, and I think sometimes, like, to him it's a debate, right? He just want to win, but the guy is trying to make you understand why black people deserve reparations, right? You just trying to win a debate, but what he's saying is that justice is rehabilitation. You took this away from me. Now, if you want me to stop being degenerate and get this culture up out of here and all this other stuff that you created, that you implanted inside my community, if you want that to stop and you took the resources away from us to make us this way, right? If you want that to stop, you're gonna have to do a whole bunch of repairing. Not no repair yourself, figure it out. No, it ain't none of that. Because it didn't take just me to destroy my community. It took you too. You took a part in it. It's called taking accountability. You ain't gonna tell me that you ain't gonna bust in my door and find out that I'm innocent and say you fix your own door. How about that? Wait. My house is less valuable now because you destroyed this. You destroyed my home. Fix it. No. You shut up and deal with it. That don't even work in real life. Bro. If a person destroy your property, destroy your community, i.e. your community, you don't just tell a person, no, so what? You don't, or an entity. You don't just tell them, you're free, so what? It's okay. No. We need some type of help because you helped us to destroy it. Why you can't help us to fix it? No. You asking for too much. Be quiet and stop complaining. Man, that's absurd. I don't know what works that way, but somehow, some way, we got to accept that.
Here. Justice is giving what is due.
Define it. I'm not going to define it any further, Andrew.
Well, the problem is that doesn't give me very much clarity because I'm still not exactly sure what you mean by the word. Justice is giving what is due, and who makes the determination of what is due?
That's where the United States, again, in this case, the United States government caused the harm. The United States government, morally, should investigate the harm caused by slavery and determine what economic.
These are different claims. These are totally different claims.
These are not different. Andrew,
yes, those are different claims. The United States ought do a thing.
Andrew,
has nothing to do
you're
with.
You're going to ask me a question and then not give me the space to answer.
Well, it has no relevancy or bearing.
It has a lot of relevance. You're asking me a question now. You want to run from the answer.
They're different claims, dude. You're making different claims. So when we're talking about justice is giving what is due, answer the question: who determines what is due?
Don't let leaks ruin your spring plans. Get a permanent fix today. Schedule your free pipe checkup now so you can.
So you're saying who determines what is due? Within this case, the U.S. government would be the one determining what is due via HR 40.
So the U.S. government, they're going to be the ones who determines what is due. The government determines this. All right. So when we're talking about justice, justice is giving what is due, and the U.S. government is who's doing the determining. And then by restitution, I assume you just mean like stuff.
And this is where he got him at. I'm not gonna lie. He did put him in a pickle in this situation because it's like asking. I'm not calling America, that. But it's like telling a murderer, right? All right, you get to pick your own restitution. You get to tell me which way you want to give it to me. Tell me which way you're gonna fix this. You get to pick though, right? Not the person that was hurt, not the family that was taken away, right? Not the family that was harmed by this behavior. The person that actually harmed them get to pick and choose what they want to do to reconcile. All right, I don't want to do shit at this point. Okay, I don't care. I don't want to do nothing. If I get to pick, I don't want no consequence. You told me I could pick. You told me I could pick. I don't want no consequences, sir. That's crazy. And that's where he messed up at. No, I believe that the people that was actually hurt get to pick how they get that restitution, right? How I want to pick, right? Because I was affected by this. I want to pick how. What the heck? I just seen somebody ran right through a bomb. I get to pick how it should be fixed. Not you, not the person that hurt me, but yeah, he did get him off his rocker a little bit. And I understood what Andrew was doing here. But like I said, sometimes I feel like he's a great debater, but not everything is meant to be a debate, right? We try to get understanding, right? Why do black people feel this way? Why do they think they deserve this, right? And I think he has a logical standpoint other than saying, well, slavery happened and I just deserve it because my ancestors were slaves. No. I believe that we deserve reparations, right? If any, we deserve it because of the disruption of that community that we built. The disruption of that culture that we built ourselves, that y'all helped to destroy, right? And I know this because of people like Free Ray Ricky Ross, right? The real one, not the rapper, right? The one that grew up in Watts, telling us about the CIA dropping drugs and him doing him selling drugs to them and doing things with them, right? Tookie Williams doing Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? These people are very much tapped in with the government, right? They knew what it was going to cause. They did it on purpose because why they seem to leave these people alone and let them sell drugs, right? And most of the time they do know who's selling the drugs. Most of the time they participated in it, right? It's CIA operations, what happened in Cuba and things like that, in Syria, things of that nature. CIA operations. That's the outcome of most countries going through that. They knew what it was going to lead to. They're not stupid. They knew how dysfunctional that this was going to be to the black community, but they continuously instigated and participated in the downfall of the black community, the real one, not this community, not this black culture now, the actual black culture that stood up for what they believed in and had some type of decorum, right? Cared about community. Pushed community, right? And I'm getting destroyed in this game. I can't even hear, but I'm sacrificing. I'm just playing the game just to play it, okay? But just to give y'all other visuals. But the government did that on purpose. But it's disingenuous for my fellow Americans to tell me, disregard what happened to you and what happened to your community and judging me wholeheartedly about my community. And saying, oh, y'all terrible people, whatever, and y'all just violent, and not understanding what I've been through, and not even just not understanding. You understand what I've been through, but you don't care. You just don't care. I said what I said, type shit. I said what I said. I don't care about how you got there. I just want you to stop. That ain't how that works. Not when it comes to a whole community or country. If I want to know why a country has failed miserably and is enslaved right now, like Syria, I want to know why, because I care. If I'm gonna tell somebody to change something, I gotta know how it got there, not just telling them, "Oh, this change, this shut up, this do it." And that's what's coming from our fellow American counterparts, right? And that's foolish.
Or balancing, or something like that.
Any things that by not just stuff, Andrew. That's extremely general. By justice, I would say, anything that could compensate Black Americans or serve to mitigate the existing economic gap, particularly the wealth gap between Black Americans and white Americans. I would focus specifically in terms of Jim Crow. I would focus on things like redlining, undoing redlining policies, and strengthening home ownership among Black Americans specifically, because home ownership is, especially is one of the largest keys to wealth for the American middle class.
Gotcha. And then your last premise is the U.S. government owes this restitution, which is anything that could compensate Black Americans for the various injustices that you just laid out, right?
Correct.
Okay, so then obviously I don't agree with the argument at all, because premise 2 and premise 3 are contradictions. If it is the case that the U.S. government is the determining factor as to what is due to you, and then you say that the U.S. government owes this because it is due to you. If the U.S. government determines that it does not owe this due to you, then it's not due to you.
Andrew, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'll walk
And this is where he kind of got booked, man. I ain't gonna lie. This is how it makes sense. You saying that the the perpetrator is they get to pick and choose how they give it to you, what they give to you at any given point, right? Because you said because he asked you a question like, all right, who's responsible for basically giving you this? Well, the government is. Okay, so if they feel like they don't want to, then seal it. We seal the deal. I don't got to, right? Like I said, the perpetrator is choosing his own fate, right? I don't gotta pay you. That's how I feel. Then you gotta accept that because that's the choice that they made. But I believe, right, to the contrary, and I think he believes this too, and I don't think he understood. I think he got put off his rocker, what Andrew was doing. He believes that we get to choose, right? Right? And he gave you examples of how it could be done, right? What he would accept to make the just due, right? To get his just due. He gave you what just due is, right? So basically, he is kind of speaking on both sides of his mouth, saying that they get to pick and choose. But let me tell you, how we gonna do it, right? No. We deserve to pick and choose how we get this resolved because we were the victims of this situation, right? It's only right. But he did catch him.
You through it.
No.
The U.S. government determines what
Hold
is
on,
due.
if it doesn't make any sense, it's important to walk through it. So let's walk through it.
The U.S. government determines what is due to you. That is your admission of premise 2. We went through it. You said in premise 3, the U.S. government owes the restitution. But if the U.S. government is the determiner of what is due and they decide that they don't owe you restitution, then they don't, by your own logic.
There has
That's your
been
own
documented.
argument, bro.
Okay, well, Andrew, the U.S. government has acknowledged that harm was done. There was a House resolution passed a couple of years ago.
They're the
No,
determiner
it
of
is
what is
okay,
due
Andrew.
by your
It
own
is relevant
admission.
because the U.S. House of Representatives acknowledged that slavery was a grave crime. In fact, the United Nations just acknowledged that slavery was one of the gravest crimes that occurred in human history. So that is two forms of a government recognizing the harm done by slavery.
The
So they've already
government is the
acknowledged
one who gets to make the determination about what is due by your admission of premise 2. If that is the case, and you say the government owes you restitution, that would be P and not P if the government decides it does not.
They didn't decide that it does not, Andrew. There has been no
I'm sorry. Are you getting restitution right now?
I'm not getting it right now.
Now, then I guess they've decided you don't need it, and they're the determiners.
If no investigation, well, Andrew, that doesn't make any sense.
What's the problem?
How could they? Wait a minute. Stop. Because what you're doing, this little syllogism bullshit that you want to try to play is not going to work.
Syllogism.
So
what do you mean? You're going to come to me with a syllogism and then say, "How dare you attack my syllogism?"
Andrew, calm down.
How dare you attack my syllogism, Andrew?
Relax, Andrew. Calm down. Calm down.
What are you talking about, bro?
Let's start from the beginning. Okay, so calm down.
Okay.
Relax. You already ceded premise 1 that the U.S. government did cause measurable harm. That is an objective reality. Okay.
Well, no, what I ceded is that
no, bullshit.
Government-backed policy, which is discriminatory towards black people. If that's how you define harm,
fellas, we got to stop talking over each other. Hold on a second, Austin. So, Austin, first of all, lay it out. What do you think he ceded, and then Andrew, you can respond.
He ceded. I'll tell you. When I asked him plainly, did the U.S. government cause measurable harm? I restated premise 1 twice. I said, premise 1, the government of the United States caused measurable harm. You ceded premise 1. I know you did because I asked you twice.
Yeah,
so,
okay. But what did I cede?
I wasn't done speaking. Calm down. Relax. I know you just screwed yourself. I know. Relax. It's all right. So the rest of the crap that you're saying is now downstream of the fact you have acknowledged that premise 1 did happen. So now the rest of what you're doing is attempting to create this fog of wordplay that I'm just not going for. That's what it was, Jake, to answer that. He did cede premise 1.
Okay,
Andrew,
great.
Now you can respond.
Yeah, so what I ceded was, this is your syllogism, it's your argument. So when I asked for a definition of what you consider harm to be, you said in this context, harm is government-backed policy, which was discriminatory towards black people. Follow-up question, Andrew, is it true that there was discriminatory practice towards black people, therefore validating what you're considering harm in this aspect? I say yes. So sure, under those terms, I'll grant premise 1 as being true based on your definition of harm. However, granting premise 1 is true based on your definition of harm does nothing for the following 2 premises. Your conclusion would be unsound if each premise is not true, and each premise is not true.
Each premise is true, Andrew.
Well, they can't
correct
be.
me if
They
I'm
can't
wrong.
be true.
Hold on. So now let's assume for a second that I buy the line of logic that you're using. If
Well, there's
premise
only
one
one
is true,
logic.
I'm sorry, what?
There's only one logic.
No, okay. Well, I hear what you're saying. Let's assume that what you're saying is fully accurate, which is not. Did premise one happen? You agreed that premise one took place. The government caused measurable harm. You agreed there.
Yes.
So if premise one occurred, now I'm going to ask you plainly:
Hmm.
are you saying that justice does not require the government to do anything to recompense Black Americans for objectively provable harm that was caused to
It
them?
would be
by the United
irrelevant, whatever I would consider justice to.
So the thing is that he gonna keep holding him to that regardless. Like you said out your mouth that the government should be they are in charge basically with giving you your reparations, right? Like basically should they give it to you or not? They're in charge of what they give to you and how they give it to you. They think that you don't deserve anything for what they did, right? Then you have to concede that because you said that they are the ones that pick and choose. They are the ones that get to pick and choose they get to pick and choose if they give you reparations or not you. And he gonna keep holding you. And Andrew is smart, but right. This is the debate. I get it. Andrew is in debate mode, and I understand it. Right, you gonna hold people to what they say. That's why you asked the question to hold you to what you said. Right, you created the standard. You gonna stick on that standard, but understanding that he's asking you, right? He's trying to have a conversation without debate, and but Andrew's trying to win because he's a debater. And it does get annoying. I get it, but also, this is what he knows, right? This is how he wins debates. He hold people make an argument. He hold them to the argument. Is it right? No. I mean, I'm not saying it's not right because you don't want to make the argument, so you got to stick to it. But it doesn't move the conversation on because you said a thing and he gonna keep holding you to it. I understand it, but it's not gonna get anywhere like that. But it does move on, so I'm not gonna bore you guys with just telling you, "Oh man, it's gonna keep going on and on and on."
It's not irrelevant. I'm asking you
Why?
The reason you're
Why
saying
is
it's
it
irrelevant is
relevant?
because it would force you to answer a question that you're
Yeah,
uncomfortable
why?
answering.
It's
So
okay.
I'm going to say this again.
You have an
Are
argument, dude.
Are you going
We're
to
talking
Andrew,
about your
Andrew,
argument here.
Andrew, will you calm down and let me ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying that the United
Mhm.
States government does not owe Black Americans anything for the harm that it caused during Jim Crow?
No, I consider justice to be eating grass. That's what justice means to me. So that's my definition
So
of
if you're going to be
justice.
this intellectually full of shit, there was really no point in me accepting this debate.
Listen,
This is
what's
hilarious.
intellectually full of shit is that you need me to define your words.
I don't need Andrew. I asked
Great,
you a
then
question.
deal with
I
the
didn't ask
actual
you to define
argument.
shit.
Then deal with the argument.
I'm asking you a question. Are you uncomfortable with this?
I'm uncomfortable with you not actually dealing with
I
the
asked
argument.
you a question. You acknowledge that the government of the United States committed acts of harm via discriminatory policies to Black Americans.
Yeah.
I am now asking you a follow-up question, which
Mhm.
is based on your acknowledgement of the truth of the first premise. Are
Mhm.
you saying that Black Americans are not owed any form of reparative justice by the United States federal government?
Yeah, I don't
I'm asking you that
consider,
question directly.
for me, for Christian ethics, no, restoration is not required in materialism.
For Christian ethics, are you a Christian?
Hmm.
What in what world does that when the children of Israel were slaves in Egypt, did God not give them the gold and the wealth of the Egyptians as restitution?
No,
That's a lie.
show it to me.
Sure. So when we go to the Old Testament, wait, oh damn it. This shit froze. Hold on a second.
We've helped thousands of veterans get jobs in tech making $10K or more a month without spending 4 years in college. And here's how. Hello, my name is Terry Kim, U.S. Air Force veteran and founder and CEO of a post-military
Great time to remind everybody that we've got the Stream Elements link pinned. If anybody wants to send their questions in, they'll also be read Super Chat and Stream Elements.
So in the book of Exodus, in Genesis 15, 13, 14, God tells Abraham his descendants will be afflicted in a foreign land, but afterwards they will come out with great substance. In Exodus chapter 3, verses 21 to 22, God says Israel will leave Egypt with silver, gold and clothing from the Egyptians. And in
Mhm.
Exodus chapter 12, Israel asked the Egyptians for silver, gold, and clothing, and the Lord gives Israel favor in their sight. It says they spoiled the Egyptians, stripping them of their wealth, fulfilling the promise. So biblically, God did not merely liberate Israel from oppression and tell them to move on. He brought them out with substance. So
So what happened? So what happened to the Egyptians?
No. Deal with that first. You
Okay,
said it
I'll
didn't
deal with
happen.
that.
I've proven to you that
Correct.
it did.
Yeah. So what happened here was a punishment which was dealt over to Egypt because they had defied the will of God.
Okay, and were they? That's not what I asked you. What I asked you was when the children of Israel were slaves in Egypt, were they not promised reparations?
No, that wasn't reparations. They
That's
defied the will
exactly
of
what it
God.
was, Andrew.
No, they defied the
God
will. It
didn't
was a
tell Israel, "You're
punishment.
free now. Stop complaining." He brought them out with wealth because liberation without restoration still leaves the victim carrying the cost of the oppressor's sin.
Where does it say that?
I just read it to you
Wait, say it again.
in Genesis 15, 13, and 14.
So Andrew's gonna play on that, basically saying that it's open for interpretation. You interpret it in a way that they were given their just due in his words, right? They were given their just due because of being slaves, right? They righted that wrong by taking God righted that wrong by taking everything from them and giving them to the Egyptians. But Andrew was saying, well, that was just, it had nothing to do with reparations. It had something to do with them not listening, and then and God punishing them for not listening, right? So he's trying to make the connection with restoration, and Andrew was making he's making the point that they were punished. Okay, that's just a punishment. Had nothing to do with restoration, and due to them paying for their sins, God is basically giving them reparations for going through that suffering, pain, and making it right towards making it right. So basically, their interpretation of it is totally different. Of the word is totally different. Okay, this is why they battling now.
God establishes the promise, and in the book of Exodus, God says Israel is going to leave Egypt with silver, gold, and clothing from the Egyptians. And if you're going to say that reparations would be a form of punishment on white America for inflicting a crime upon black Americans, then so be it. It's a just punishment for an unjust crime. Unless you're going to say that now the Bible is wrong.
Abraham said, "Sovereign Lord, how can I know that I will gain possession of it?" And the Lord said to him, "Bring to me a heifer and a goat and a ram." Where are we at here in Genesis 15 that we're reading?
I'm sorry, what? Say that again.
Where are we at in Genesis here?
I quoted Genesis and I quoted Exodus as well.
Genesis
Andrew.
what, though?
I just gave it to you, Andrew. You're obviously not paying attention. Exodus
No,
chapter 3,
I'm
verses
just pulling
21
it
to
up.
20. Exodus, I'm giving it to you. Calm down. Exodus chapter 3, verses 21 through 22, where God says Israel will leave Egypt with silver, gold,
Yeah,
and
but
clothing.
Genesis is the reference that I'm looking for. That you
Okay,
gave me.
I gave you 3 references. Stop doing that. Stop sticking at one when I gave you 3.
But
You gotta follow me.
I'm just
Keep
want to
up.
follow one at a time. Can you give me the Genesis reference again?
Genesis chapter 15, verses 13 and 14, Andrew. Let's start there.
Okay, 13 and 14. The Lord said to him, "Know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will
Black
punish
Americans
the
not enslaved and
nation.
mistreated in
I will
America?
punish the nation
Wait,
that they."
stop. Were Black Americans not enslaved and mistreated in America? Yes or no?
Yeah, they were.
Okay, then.
What is it? Can
Now
I
continue.
finish reading
Now
it now?
continue. Yeah, go ahead.
These are things that aren't in dispute.
We
Your
know they ain't in dispute. We know.
Your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, that they will
Uh-huh.
be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish that nation, they serve as slaves, and afterwards they will come out with great possession. So it was a fucking punishment, bro, like I said. Anything else?
The fuck are you talking about? You are worse than both. You are literally worse than both.
Does the word punishment, what's the word we're looking for here? Punishment?
Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
You said you're a Christian earlier. I gave you a perfect example of punishment. So in this case,
punishment, not reparations, punishment.
Andrew, God punished Pharaoh and the Egyptians because they didn't do what? They didn't live up. They didn't honor the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Correct?
Not just that; they were also honoring demons.
They did not honor the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Doesn't the Bible say you should have no other gods before me? Yes or no?
That's true, but they also were idolizing demons.
It doesn't matter what else you're idolizing. Anything that
does matter.
replaces God is wrong. Yes or no, Andrew?
Yeah, generally speaking, yes.
Okay, then. So it doesn't matter what false gods the Egyptians were worshiping. They were not honoring the one God that actually created the universe. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
So now, moving along, when in the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verses 21 and 22, God says Israel will leave Egypt with silver, gold, and clothing from the Egyptians. In Exodus chapter 12, verses 35 and 36, Israel then asked the Egyptians for silver, gold, and clothing, and the Lord gives Israel favor in this sight. And the King James Bible actually says they spoiled the Egyptians, meaning that they did strip them of their wealth. The reason the Israelites got the wealth was because the Egyptians did something morally wrong.
And God was punishing them.
Correct. So in the confines of what we're talking about, you could argue, if you wish, that reparations or some sort of governmental corrective action is a punishment on white America for a sin that they committed against blacks.
Great. I'm glad that we finally got there.
Okay. So you're saying that that's not, but you said that's not in line with Christian ethics.
That's correct. It would not be in line with Christian ethics.
How is an example that proves what I'm saying is correct not in line with Christian ethics?
Because you're citing the Old Testament, sir.
Is the New Testament, are you telling me the New Testament and the Old Testament conflict?
Well, it's not conflict.
Now that's a biblical contradiction.
It's on a continuity. But in the New Testament,
wait a minute. The New Testament is not a continuity of the Old Testament.
Austin, you have to let him get the point out before you interrupt. All right, make sure that there's equal speaking time. You are interrupting a lot. So Andrew, get the point out.
So just one last question. Are you saying
where were we? He wasn't finished.
You're just gish galloping because you're getting blown out on each point like you just did on the one on punishment.
You ain't blown out shit.
Bro, you got done telling me no, it wasn't a form of punishment. Now you've conceded it's a form of punishment. It's hilarious. But now back to this on continuity. This is even funnier to me. If you look,
his concept was it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if it was punishment or not. They got what they got because of that punishment. So therefore, you're so hyper focused on the punishment aspect, but he's saying that it doesn't matter if they got punished. They still got some just due. The opposing people that were put under the thumb of these people were still giving their, that's crazy work to me. They were still giving their just due. It doesn't matter. Right? Their just due is basically reparations. Doesn't matter how they got it doesn't matter how they got it, right? Even if you're punishing the people for the bad behavior, doesn't matter. But also I hear that Andrew was basically stating that they were punished because they were worshiping false gods, not because they were enslaving individuals, right? They were doing other devious things, and that's what caused them to have to get punished. All right, so yeah, that's what I got from it.
In the book of Acts, you'll find in the book of Acts that how they determine who is a Christian is by 3 criteria, right? You no longer have to get circumcised, for instance. Is that contradictory because the Old Testament does say that you need to be circumcised? No, of course not. It's on a continuity. And so the New Testament has a new covenant with it. And with that is the fulfillment of the law. Jesus Christ came and fulfilled the law. Part of how he fulfilled the law is by conquering death. He conquered death. And in his testament to his apostles, he taught us through Christian ethics how we are to treat each other going forward. That's why, for instance, in Leviticus, how do you deal with homosexuals in Leviticus? You wrap a millstone around their neck and you throw them into the water, and then they sink to the bottom and drown. However, we don't deal with homosexuals like that in Christianity, do we? Why? Because in the continuity, you'll find in the New Testament, Christ came and fulfilled the law and gave us what the law is supposed to be.
I'd recommend getting a genetic methylation test just once in your life. Just once in your life. You'll never need to do it again.
Okay.
And how is that done exactly? With a cheek swab? Just a cheek swab and send it?
So you're saying that the Old Testament no longer applies
No, it does apply, and the law applies. However, the law is a continuum. It's on a continuity. Jesus Christ came and fulfilled the law by conquering death, and he gave Christians the methodology for which to have their ethical system.
So we know restitution carries into the New Testament because when Zacchaeus encountered Christ, he did not say, well, Jesus fulfilled the law, so therefore I owe no one anything. He says, if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. And Christ responds to him when he says, this day is salvation come to this house. So this restitution thing carries over into the New Testament, unless you're not going to deny that.
Read the rest of the context.
What do you mean the rest? I just read it. Matthew 5:17. Let's start with and this is the thing, Andrew. Hold on.
We can do that. We can do this all
Andrew,
day, bro.
stop. You wanted me to shut up and let you respond. Calm down. Relax. Christ fulfilling the law does not mean justice died at the cross. It means that Christ fulfilled the law's ultimate redemptive purpose, but the moral principles revealed in the law, which is justice, mercy, restitution, truth, and righteousness, are not abolished. Which is why I go to Matthew 5:17. Jesus says, think not that I'm come to destroy the law of the prophets. I'm not come to destroy or to fulfill. So if this idea of continuity somehow changing the principle of the matter, which is what we're discussing, that's a logically inconsistent argument.
The declaration counters the misconception that Jesus intended to discard Jewish law. That was not the intention.
Jewish law. You're not.
So when we're talking about the distinction here between reparations and punishment, we demonstrated in Genesis under Christian ethics, we found that God was punishing the Egyptians for how they were mistreating his servants. Not that he was giving them restitution or reparations, but he was punishing those who had misgivings towards him, and he had prophesied that he would do so as a punishment, which is exactly what you want to do right now. You want to offer up a punishment for things I never did, things that you never experienced.
Andrew, I don't care what you did. See, now you did exactly where I was trying to lead you, because you think this is about what you did. No, you already, again, going back to the start of this argument, you ceded premise one, which is that the United States government, which is still in a currently existing institution, caused measurable, documentable economic harm to Black Americans. That is a fact.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, the institution, which is still currently existing, the U.S. government is still around, the Constitution is still the supreme law of the land. This is not about blaming white people. This is about blaming.
I didn't say it's about blaming white people.
Andrew, I didn't say what you said. I'm simply making a point. It's called rhetorical. The point that I'm making is that the U.S. government, which still exists, caused documented, measurable harm to Black Americans. Because the government caused this harm.
That's the premise that's where we get in the problem with the premise.
Can you allow me to finish?
Yeah, but that's where the premise goes wrong, is in premise 2.
It doesn't go wrong in premise 2. If you
it does.
You have given no definition of justice. You have given.
I don't need to. It's not my argument.
Definition of justice either, by the way.
It's not my argument. It's your argument. You're the one arguing. You're on the pro side here. The pro side is saying that the U.S. government makes a determination of what restitution is due. And then your third premise negates that by saying that the government itself owes restitution. That can't be the case if the government's not.
How can that be the case when the government?
Because if the government's not paying out,
it would be the case.
Because if the government's not paying out restitution, then the government has determined it doesn't owe any.
So biblically, going again to this example of Zacchaeus said if he harmed any person, he restored them fourfold. In this case, the U.S. government is Zacchaeus. The U.S. government caused measurable, documented harm to Black Americans. Therefore, they would be the one to owe restitution to the harmed class.
Well, I'm not sure that we're talking about the same thing here. So from your view, the government is the determining factor of what they owe by your own premise.
Andrew, what you're doing is so damn exhausting, it's ridiculous, because your inability to be intellectually honest.
Using your own words.
You should never said it.
You're not using my own words against me, Andrew. You're not even addressing my words.
Okay,
you started this debate.
Premise 2. Those are your words.
Andrew, you started this debate by acknowledging that the U.S. government caused harm. You are attempting to now skirt around the definition of and create some sort of pseudo definition of justice, or rather not provide one.
I'm using it's your argument. Why do I have to provide you your argument, dude? I don't get it.
Andrew,
I need you to define justice for me, for my argument.
I already did it. It wasn't good enough for you. So I'm going to ask you again.
It's not good enough. I'm just telling you your argument is unsound. What do you want me to say? It's an unsound argument.
Let me ask you then. What would you define justice as? If you have an issue with my definition, now I'm trying to expand the conversation as best as possible. What would you define justice as, Andrew?
Why do I need to give you a definition?
Your inability to stop being like Destiny and directly answer the question. If you
you got to understand who you're debating, though. Andrew, if you say something to him, he gonna literally use it against you, bro. You gotta understand that's a part of being a debater as well. You gotta know who you're debating. If you say certain things, he's gonna hold it against you. It's just that simple. You said it out your mouth. If you don't like the premise, you made the premise up. You made the premise up. I'm not backing Andrew up. I'm just stating the obvious. I'm not on nobody's side. But I'm just telling you the truth. If you say certain things, that's law. It's not law because it's law. It's law because you made it up, right? You can't ask Andrew, and Andrew's not arguing that that's not called that's not restoration, right? What you said is not restoration. He's not arguing that. Okay, that's not his argument. That's not Andrew's argument. His argument is that, well, if you said that the government gets to pick the terms of the restoration that they're supposed to give, as far as making it right toward black people, giving black people their just due, they said I ain't giving you shit. That's they just due. You said they get to pick. That's how they picked it. Because if they didn't pick it that way, you would have had it already, and it makes sense, right? It makes sense. This is why I also don't believe that. I mean, I don't believe that black people won't ever get reparations due to us begging and all that other stuff and asking the government to make just do when they don't give a crap. They're never going to give you reparations. And Democrats are the only ones that's riding on the coattails saying that you're going to get it because they know you're not going to get it. Because if they give it to you, you're not going to need them, right? And that's just outside the point, but that's my conclusion.
We can do that. We can continue the conversation.
I'll tell you what. I'll see the entire debate right now if you can tell me why it's required that I give you a definition for justice when you gave me the syllogism.
I gave you a definition for justice that you claimed was not in line with Christian ethics.
No.
That's why I'm now asking you
that
to
your
answer
syllogism
the
is
question
unsound.
Andrew, you asked me to answer the question. I answered it.
You haven't answered it.
I gave you the definition.
Why is there a requirement that I define the word justice for your syllogism?
Andrew, if you're going to sit here and play this word tap dancing bullshit, there is no point in me continuing this conversation.
Well, then
I
leave.
am asking you
if you're going to cry about it, if you're going to cry about your argument,
I'm not crying about it. I'm holding you to task.
All right, fellas, just quickly, let me try and get this back on track. So, it's gone a little bit, it's flip-flopped a little bit from the Christian ethical argument to the more constitutional argument that we're going from like a constitutional government argument to
Thank God for moderators, bro. Thank God for moderators, because when watching these blood sport debates, a lot of times they deviate from the actual argument. So you gotta have some barriers and referees, man. You realize how important referees are when watching these debates because it gets draining, right? It gets draining, and I kind of want to skip it a little bit to see where they at. Let's skip it up a little bit because.
Wait, you don't write anything down after conversation?
Right,
This is pop.
All right, let's see where they at. I don't want to bore you.
Harm here is some violation of Christian ethics, right? If that's the case, if it's a violation established.
Well, hold on. You admitted that they did.
That's established.
So if that's established, now you're sitting here arguing about what is justice, which all you're doing is muddying the waters by trying to avoid answering the question. You still right now at the 51-minute mark of this debate, you have not answered the question of what are you trying to define as justice?
I don't need to define justice. It's irrelevant. I'm not the one who's.
It's not his argument. Austin, it's not his argument. That's your argument, right? He don't need to give you what is justice. You gave him what is justice, and when you said, and what you gave him was that the government gets to pick what's justice because they committed the crime. So they chose nothing, right? They chose nothing. He's not debating. Do you deserve restoration? Do you not deserve restoration? He's saying, okay, if you think you deserve restoration, who you want to give you the restoration in? Who job is it to give you the restoration? The government. Who gets to pick and choose? Who gets to pick and choose that you get restoration? Oh, the government, because they are the perpetrators. They're the ones that caused the harm. Okay, from what I can see now with my own eyes, right, to this day, they chose not to. So that's your answer. They said no, you don't deserve it. You're not getting anything, right? That's my choice of restoration. You're not getting shit. That's your restoration. That's basically what he's saying, and that's true. They chose not to give you anything. So yeah.
Listen, so
if you're saying that my definition is not in line with Christian ethics, that would mean that by definition yours somehow is.
No,
but you refuse to define
that. Listen,
Andrew, yes. Why is it irrelevant? Let's
let
hear
me let me explain this so that you understand. Right? I'm gonna speak real slow and real soft. So, if you make an argument based on your worldview, that's your position. Your position is the one of change. You're the one who's proposing that we do something about X. That's your position, not mine. I'm not proposing that we do anything about X.
Still not answering.
I'm asking you, why ought we do something
You're
about
still not
X?
answering my question.
Yes, I am.
No, you're
I'm
not.
asking you, why ought
I
we
asked you,
do
what is
it?
your definition of
I'm
justice, and you're
asking
refusing
you,
to answer.
why is that a requirement? Tell me why it's required that
It
I
is
tell you your position.
you are. I've restated this shit 4 times. You said that my definition of justice is not in line with Christian ethics. I am now asking you, based on
No,
what you're saying.
I'm saying that when
Andrew,
if you
stop.
bro,
What
do you
you
want the
are
answer or
saying,
not? This is
what
crazy.
you are saying is that if my your premise is now Austin's
Mhm.
definition of Christian ethic or definition of justice is not in line with Christian ethics. While claiming yourself to be a Christian, I am now
Mhm.
simply asking you to define within your lens of what you call Christian ethics, what are you defining as justice? You
Yeah.
claiming that it is irrelevant does not.
All right,
further
let's
the
let him answer the
conversation,
question.
and it is a
Andrew, do
mistake
you
path from answering the question.
Andrew, do you deny that? Do you deny that you are
All I
saying
need
that
to
his
do
definition of
to
justice is not in
negate
line with Christian
all I
ethics?
need to do to negate the claim is justice is giving what is due is a Christian principle. I would never have to give a counterclaim of what I consider justice to be. So it would be irrelevant to your proposition and your premise. You want me to defend your premise or come
No,
up
I
with some,
do
hey,
not.
stop, bro, stop, my turn. Or come up with some sort of counter syllogism for you.
I don't give a damn about
Now,
a counter
just hang
syllogism. I'm
on,
asking
dude.
you
Just
for a
let me
definition
finish. Can I
that
at
you're
least
refusing
finish?
to define.
Can I finish the point? Right?
Can you answer the question?
Yeah, I don't have to ever give you a definition of justice for your syllogism, bro. What do you want me to say? Do you know logic? Can you tell me the 3 laws of logic, dude? Just tell me the 3 laws of logic.
Andrew, I am going to restate this one final time
Oh,
because
please
what you are
do.
doing is muddying the waters, and I'm going to recenter this debate for the last time. And if you simply refuse to do this, if you simply refuse to answer the question,
Then you're
while
going to run
claiming to be
away and not defend your syllogism?
I'm not going to run away. Andrew, you are nobody to run away from, son. What I'm telling you is,
Mhm.
you are calling yourself a Christian. We have established that we both, based on what we've stated, view the world through a Christian-based lens.
Yeah.
You are now claiming, so we've set a baseline, we've set a conversational foundation.
Yeah.
You are claiming that the definition of justice that I provided is not in line with biblical Christian ethics, while yourself holding the same foundational worldview. So I'm simply asking you to define in your worldview, what are you saying is justice? That way we can have a clear we can determine if we have a clear operating baseline of what justice is.
Yeah, but the problem with this is that when you say justice, you gave me a principle. The principle is giving what is due. That's your definition of justice. I can deny and denote that the principle does not align with Christian ethics without ever needing to give you some definition of justice. It's irrelevant.
That doesn't make any sense.
Okay,
That
tell
would
me how it
only
doesn't make
hold
sense.
if you were not claiming yourself to be a Christian, because what you're claiming
What?
what you're doing is claiming a sort of mental, not even mental. You're claiming a form of definitional superiority by saying that my definition is not in line with Christian ethics, while refusing at the very same time
Not
to
the
provide what you
definition.
would
I'm talking
claim is a
about the
better
principle.
definition.
Yeah, I'm talking about the principle. You assigned a principle to justice as the entirety of the word justice. I'm willing to cede that that is your principle. Justice is giving what is due. But what I'm doing is applying justice is giving what is due to Christian ethics, and I'm finding that I don't see that principle anywhere.
And you're refusing to identify how you don't see the principle.
Because
I think we probably should move the debate on, guys.
Of it. What do you want
Let's
me to say?
let's move the debate on, guys. Let's just move the debate on. There's a few different angles that we could take it. We could take it from the how did these systemic injustices occur? Is it culture? What plays more of a part in that? Andrew, you made those claims in your opening statement. We can go down that line. We can go down what is systemic racism? Does systemic racism still exist today? Where would you guys like to take it? Because this definition stuff's getting a bit long.
What was it? What you said? The systemic racism still exists today? No, I don't think. I don't believe, and I said that in my opening statement. All things are not due to systemic racism, and today, racism in America is largely, I would argue, on.
Well, the thing is that from what the government has done, right? Even though it's not alive and thriving today, the damage that they have done is forever affecting the black community because you haven't fixed it. You've done something, but you didn't fix anything. You didn't do it. You didn't do the work to fix it. It's like you create a disaster, but yet you leave it messy, right? And you leave the person that's you leave the person that you hurt up to fix the problem and say, well, that's your own problem. You got to fix it. Like, why do I have to fix something like that when I didn't cause it? I didn't cause it. You caused it, right? After slavery, you caused it. You wanted me to have problems. Now you blaming me for those problems that you took a part in creating. That's not right. That's not right. Anywhere else, that's not right. We understand that, but when it comes to black people, you gotta be disingenuous to try to make an argument for stuff like that. You gotta be disingenuous, right? It don't have to make sense. Just deal with it, right? And I don't understand why white people think it's an attack on them. It has nothing to do with white people. But they hear the argument so much. I understand why they think that. They hear the argument so much that they do think that way, right? Because most of the time when people talk about reparations, it's usually about slavery, right? So, yeah.
It's a deathbed. There are the lasting vestiges of systemic racism are too small. The ones that do exist, they're too small to negate any sort of legitimate mobile upward movement for Black Americans. So I wouldn't have a line of thought there, a line of disagreement.
So
All
it's
right.
not. There's no. So currently in modernity, you're saying you don't believe that systemic racism is much of a thing.
I don't believe that it is as much of a upward mobile deterrent as it was in the 60s and prior under the Jim Crow era. No.
Okay, so then would you agree with me when I'm expressing the cultural deficiencies and the cultural deficiencies being primarily the result for why many Black Americans currently find themselves unsuccessful?
You could argue that that is
Not due to systemic racism, but due to cultural filters which are self-imposed.
You could argue that yes, today largely a lot of those issues are culturally imposed.
Again, due to what happened in the judicial system, in the government, right, and how they treated black people post-slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, it's forever lingering because nothing was fixed. It's just that, okay, I caused this harm, I relinquish this, figure it out. No more excuses. That's not how that works. It's like you I don't know, man. I can make a good point on this, but I can't say certain things on here. It's like you taking advantage of somebody. And then once you're done taking advantage of them, you dip out and say, all right, figure it out, I'm out of here. And then once they have trauma, and they instill that trauma on their kids, and then their kids don't understand, and they don't understand what's going on, why you don't trust people, why I was stuck in a house for forever. My mom didn't let me go outside, she didn't let me do anything because of what happened to her in her past, right? That trauma is carried on, right? Because it was never fixed. But yet you telling those people to thrive in society that you kept them away from for so long. You kept them away from that positivity and that equity. You kept them away from that. But now you blaming them for being devious, being hateful, being resentful. That's not how that worked, bro. That's not how that worked. And they knew it, right? And I know that they knew it. They're not stupid, right? They got the top psychologists, top people to manipulate individuals into doing what they want them to do, and they did it purposely. Okay, just like the feminism thing in America, in the Western world, they done it purposely, and it's coming, and it happened just as they planned it. Right? We are exactly black people. Black culture is exactly what the government has wanted them to be. Right?
But the origin of those, which we discussed in the opening of this debate, is the root issue of that. There's always been a high net positive correlation between poverty and criminality, which is what we discussed earlier. But today, Black culture has become,
But that doesn't account for the disproportionality.
I'm sorry?
It doesn't account for the disproportionality.
What doesn't account for the disproportionality?
Poverty.
No, it doesn't. Not individually, but poverty compounded with the exclusionary practices practiced by the government, put into place by the government. I've said quite often that
Then what would
what
explain the disproportionality absent the systemic racism now?
I'm sorry.
Then what would explain the disproportionality if there's no systemic racism now, but you still see disproportional amounts of criminality
Because
based
we
on
adopted bad habits and
poverty?
kept them going. I mean, that's the answer. This is where I lean heavily into conservatism. I mean, into my
So it's
conservatism. We have been,
self-imposed due to culture.
now it's self-imposed. Yeah, I've said that plenty of times.
Okay, so if it's self-imposed due to culture, and not due to systemic racism, there's a disproportionality. Is that justice to the culture which is subsidizing the culture which refuses to be successful?
Who's subsidizing black culture? Are you saying that white America is subsidizing black culture?
No, I'm saying that the American government, which you're holding to these sins, is subsidizing black culture.
The American government is subsidized. Let me make sure I'm understanding what you're saying. You're saying that today the American government is currently subsidizing black culture.
Yes.
Through what metrics?
Well, we could look at multiple metrics. The first would be DEI. That would be a good metric to look at for subsidization. Another one is that the government
How is that when
spends.
white
Hang
women
government.
made up? Wait a minute.
Hang
Hold on.
hang
Black
dude.
people. Wait a
Let me
minute.
give you the list real quick, so that you
Well,
have.
hold on, but let's start with DEI for a second, because
Okay.
only 3% of black people black people only made up 3% of all DEI hires, Andrew. The largest benefactor of DEI has been proven to be white women, so that's a lie.
So let's back up real quick.
No,
What about
address that point first.
Yeah, let's start with per capita. Do you agree with me that there's way more white women than there are black women?
Yes, but that does not, again,
So why don't we?
overall.
So
Wait
can
a
you
minute,
tell
wait
me
a
what
minute,
the numbers
Andrew. Let
are
me
per
answer that in
capita?
full. Let me answer that in full.
Okay.
Based on multiple studies that have been released by the U.S. Department of Labor and multiple studies that have been conducted for DEI, the largest benefactor of all DEI platforms or programs was white women.
And per capita, which is the number that actually matters.
Are you saying that per capita, and white farmers too? Yes, as well. White women and white farmers. Yeah. Per capita, I don't have those numbers right in front of me, but I mean that's a simple Google search. I mean, it's not like we're not sitting right in front of our computers.
Yeah. So then look it up.
So you're saying is per capita, who's the largest benefactor of DEI?
Yeah.
Okay, so per capita, who's the largest benefactor of DEI programs?
Per capita, yeah.
Okay. White women, veterans, people with disabilities, and various racial and ethnic minority groups, depending on the program.
And what programs?
It's varied. It varies. There's no universally accepted national ranking across all DEI programs, but the evidence from employment and educational affirmative action suggests that white women have often been among the largest beneficiaries of diversity and affirmative action policies per capita.
And now what about black women versus black men?
But that's race internal. That doesn't matter.
Why does that not matter?
Because we're looking at what we're looking at. You said that the government subsidized black people, but what we just looked up proved that the largest benefactor, even per capita, is still white women. So now what you're asking is another question.
I'm actually not sure on the per capita. I'm not finding the actual per capita answer. What you gave me seems to line up specifically with the proportionality, or specifically when you say the most amount of DEI hires are white women. I can concede that that's true, but I actually can't find the per capita disproportionality.
There's no universally accepted number, Andrew. I just quoted that.
Yeah, so
I didn't make that up. I just read it.
So that's the problem, right? It's like black women are only 6% of the population, 7% of the population. So you would expect that white women would be the ones who would get the most amount of DEI hires.
Andrew,
how is it terrible?
How? Because you're literally now running from acknowledging that what you said was not logically consistent.
How is it not logically consistent?
You said the U.S. government subsidizes black folks, when if that's true, nationally speaking, they should still outperform white people in DEI programs, and they don't.
They do.
Okay. Under what source, Andrew? Provide the source, because now you're making the positive claim. So where's your source?
So it's not just DEI when you're talking about subsidies, which is why you cut me off before I could give you my list. So when we're talking about subsidization for Black people, we'd also be taking into account school. We would be taking into account direct payments when it came to welfare, when it came to all
the largest recipients of welfare are white people.
Let's do per capita. Let's do per capita.
What Andrew is not understanding is that, bro, like, we all get that benefit. It's not just a Black person thing. That's what he's saying. It's not just a Black person thing. Even if per capita, Black people benefit from this subsidy, whatever, white people benefit from it too. It's not a specific thing. Like, we're winning. We're not getting nothing. We're not getting anything. We're not getting anything that everybody else isn't getting. So why does it matter? Everybody gets it. Everybody gets this subsidy. It's not race specific, if that makes sense. So you act like that's a form of reparations. Well, per capita, you guys are on these benefits. Okay, what does that have to do with anything? Well, you guys are benefiting the most, so it got to be y'all program because y'all benefit from it the most. Negative. I will say that it's a reason why they're giving Black women a leg up. It's because I'm just keep it real with you. I would think that I will tell you that they're the people that gave into the feminism the most. So even when they have a bigger education, they give up more on having children, birthing more Black babies, and all this. They give up on that. Now they're the masculine people. They're doing it for the destruction of the Black community. I honestly believe that, right? Because why don't they give it to Black men, right? The leaders of the family, right? No, they'd rather kick them out, right? And you cause crime, you go to jail. But giving you opportunity, no, I'd rather give it to the woman because them benefiting is also benefiting the destruction of the Black community, right? They're not doing it to help Black people because they know they created the Black woman. They created them to give into feminism and to be so masculine, right? Distasteful to Black men, right? And it furthers that on because now they're the breadwinners. Now they got these opportunities that they don't deserve, right? Also white women, because they're giving into feminism. It's not just a Black person thing. The reason why they're putting women in power is to destroy the world, right? Destroy the Western world as it is, right? And you understand that, Andrew, because your wife talks a lot about it. So it's not a benefit. It's not a beneficial thing to the Black community to have women get more opportunities just for being Black, all right? Or white women, period. And I understand what you're saying. Per capita, it helps more Black women and whatever. It helps Black women due to them being a smaller population. They still get a lot more help than if you put population to woman. Then it makes more sense that that Black women get the most help. Right, per capita, but it's more white women, so that's why it's gonna look like they get more help than us, than Black, not us, but Black women. I don't think it's to help anybody though. I don't think it's to help the Black community or any community. I think it's to destroy it. So yeah, that's my take on that.
Let's do per capita. Per capita, who is the largest recipient of welfare payments between Black Americans and white Americans, or Black Americans and all Americans? Which one you want?
Either.
Both. Sure. If you're asking total dollars received per capita, white Americans receive the largest amount of welfare benefits because
we're not talking about total dollars.
Stop.
We're talking about total people.
I'm answering the question, Andrew.
Okay.
I'm answering it in full. Relax.
Okay.
Historically, Black Americans have had higher participation than white Americans in programs such as SNAP, SNAP, which is food assistance, TANF, which is cash assistance and Medicaid. White Americans, because of their larger population, often receive the largest total amount of benefits still across many programs. When you include programs also heavily used by the elderly, such as Social Security and Medicare, white Americans per capita receive the largest share of total benefits because they still do make up a larger share of the older population. So
Black people per capita receive more SNAP benefits.
Andrew, are you listening?
Read the part.
It's still white people.
No, it's not.
I just read it to you.
Read it again because you don't understand what you just read. Read it again.
I'm not reading it again. You don't understand. You obviously didn't listen. You obviously your ears ain't working. So
yeah. So here.
All right, let's get it from the other side now. Go on.
On a per capita basis, Black Americans participate in means-tested welfare programs such as SNAP, food assistance, TAMP, Medicaid at higher rates than white Americans. Now, let me read that for you again, sir. On a per capita basis, Black Americans participate in means-tested welfare programs such as SNAP, food stamps, TANF, and Medicaid at higher rates than white Americans. What are you confused about? Anything?
Not
Are you
confused about anything.
confused, sir?
Well, I'm not confused about anything, brother. What I'm trying to get you to see is that even what you're saying. Wait a minute. That's still so. Wait a minute. So you're saying that welfare is a form of a government is a government subsidy, and that black is that a form of reparations to you?
It's a subsidization.
That's not what I asked you.
Yeah. So if we're tying it back to my earlier argument, I'm saying that if it's the case that the government is subsidizing Black people at a higher rate, then what's happening is the government has no money. They're taking money from one group and giving it to another. So how this works in real
taking money from you act like Black people don't pay taxes. So what are you talking about?
I'm trying to explain to you how this works in real time. So if it's the case you're going to vote for somebody, you only vote based on generally two criteria. It's either I'm going to take less from you or I'm going to give something to you from somebody else because the government has no resources. You're the resource. You are born with a Social Security number, and your Social Security number is what the government bets against before it begins to incur debt, things like this, because they're betting that you're going to pay X amount of taxation. So that's literally how the system works
So you're
in
saying
perpetuity.
that a system that Black people pay into because Black people are taxpayers just like everyone else, and the large funding for welfare comes from the American taxpayer. You're saying that that essentially Black people subsidize themselves when you break it down. That's what.
No, they're not subsidizing themselves. They're being subsidized by a different group of the population because the government itself can't offer any subsidies. They're only offering money from one group to another. So when you think about it, the government's not the one providing reparations or even the subsidization. It's white Americans and other general working class Americans who are providing that subsidization for Blacks. So I feel like based on your argument, if that's the case and justice requires giving what is due, then Black America should give back to the group which is being taken from, which subsidizes.
So you're telling me that Black Americans should give back to white Americans?
Mm-hmm. If we want to follow your ideals of justice, yes.
That's not my ideal of justice. So my ideal of justice is that Black Americans shouldn't have to, based on what you're saying, for at least the next 60 years, Black Americans should have to give white Americans shit because Black Americans were systematically subjugated from wealth creation by by a white government that was in power that kept us from owning homes or wealth generation.
But I thought you just said that I'm not responsible for that, and you're not responsible for that.
I said the government. I didn't say you, son.
Yeah, great. But right now, there is a responsibility for the people who are alive for injustices which are happening. And if justice is giving to a person what is due them, then what is due to whites
what definition of justice
from the Black community? Yours.
Well, now I'm going to ask you what definition of justice.
I'm using yours. Your definition is justice requires.
How is anything due to white Americans when they've had an economic advantage
I'm trying
in
to
this country
explain
for
it
much
to
longer
you.
than
I'm
Black
going to
Americans?
explain it to you, right? Whether or not. I can't explain it to you. No. Okay.
No. Who has had an economic advantage in this country for a longer period of time? White or Black Americans?
White Americans.
All right then. So what you're saying literally makes no fucking sense.
It does. It makes perfect sense. If it's the case that there is no current systemic racism by your own admission, which is keeping down the Black man, but rather social habits, which are imperfect when it comes to society, and so society doesn't want to deal with them based on those social habits, then it would be the case that right now I'm simply being punished for the bad social habits of other people, and you're disproportionately taking wealth from me to give it to those people, which would confine with your idea. Stop, bro. Let me make the argument. Let's
hear the argument. Let's hear the argument.
You won't even respond to the argument because you won't even let me say it. So again, your argument of justice, right? Justice requires restitution. That's your exact premise. Okay. And then when we talk about what that is, what is justice? It's giving what is due. So here's what is due. What is due if it's the case that it's not systemic racism or biases which are causing Blacks to have this situation in modernity, but rather bad social habits, which you agree to, then it would have to be the case necessarily that they're disproportionately taking from me, which
The
means
bad
I'm due
social
some
habits that black
justice.
people have,
I'm due justice,
the
bro.
bad social habits that black people have more directly impact us race internally than they impact white Americans. So what are black people taking from white America, Andrew?
They're disproportionately taking money from the taxpayer in order to
They
give it
all
to their
pay
social
taxes. What
group.
are you talking about?
But they are
Black people pay
disproportionate.
taxes the same as white
But they
Americans. So what you're saying
receive
doesn't
this.
make any sense.
They're
It doesn't even
receiving
logically follow.
disproportionately. They're receiving disproportionately. So give me what is
That's
due,
not
because that is
true.
what's just.
That's not what's just.
I
That is
literally
that is
just
the great,
here's
that
what's
is the
true.
Andrew, it's not enough of us to just to receive these benefits disproportionately. Okay? If anything, if you want to say that, it balances out because there's more white people on these subsidies than it is black people. Right? If you give the most, there's more of y'all on it than us. So what do you mean, dude? What do you mean? I see how you try to reverse it. I understand the concept that you're trying to make. Like, well, you're more strained on the system than most people because per capita you guys are on it, which means that we're mostly on it than other people, right? Depending on our population, based on our population in this country. But you gotta understand that y'all are more on it than us, right? So if anything, you basically paying your own folks, gang. You paying your own folks, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. What do y'all think about this? What do y'all think? And yeah, it's me. I'm winning. I'm handing out butt kickings.
Single stupidest thing
Black
I've heard
Americans participate in means-tested welfare programs,
stop. Andrew,
SNAP,
wait a
food
minute,
stamps,
Let him make the
Medicaid,
argument.
everything at disproportional rates in comparison to white people. White people are also paying more into those systems than black people are. It's disproportional that way as well.
Okay, I guess the numbers are disproportionate as far as the population, but white people are more on it. Okay, you guys put it into the system, more white people on it, but we're all Americans. That's what I'm getting. It's separatism when it comes to shit like this. I can't stand that, bro. I can't stand that. I don't understand that, bro. It's a tit for tat thing, as if, and he just laid the law, right? Austin laid the law and said that he's not trying to attack or affect white people. It's not a white people and black people thing. It's a governmental thing, right? And it's not like we already have those subsidies, which is the problem. It's not like we already got reparations, which Andrew was trying to make like, well, you guys are already on the system. No, you guys participate in the system as well. It's not restricted for black people. It's just not. It's for everybody, right? Any race can get on that. Any American can get on this system. So it's not reparations towards us as if we're winning or we getting something from it. No, this system that is given to us is meant to disrupt and keep black communities down. We all know that, right? They're not giving it to us for funsies. They're not giving it to us because it really helps us. No, it's to keep us down, right? You know that. And I'm a government Section 8 baby, right? You couldn't have a man in the home. It's certain things that that system gives you to keep you down, right? It's not about helping you. It's not reparations to destroy your family. It's not reparations to destroy your community. All right, that's what you got misunderstood. This is not to help you. It's to keep you down. So this is not of help of black people. We're not winning from this. We're not getting anything out of that, but problems. It's a problem that's temporarily fixed. Oh, I get to feed my family with food stamps. Okay, good. But meanwhile, right, the true nature of this subsidy is to keep your family keep your family dysfunctional, keep you needing the government. It's not to help you at all. Hope you understand that, guy. Hope you understand that. And I know you understand it because it's deeper than just giving you subsidies. But white people get these. If you're gonna make it a subsidy thing and make it like those subsidies is the representation of reparations for black people, that's a bold-faced lie. Bold-faced lie because everybody participates in that. It's like giving it's like in the context of what he's saying as far as just due, it's like giving the Indians just due. They have land, they have casinos, right? They are governed by themselves in their communities. How is that possible That's reparations. But for us, it got to look different. No, it's in a your reparations is in a form of government assistance. That's foolish. That's foolish because everybody gets to partake in that. If that's the case, well, if our budgets to be much higher because everybody else on our budget for reparations, then let's fix it. Then let's make sure everybody gets off those subsidies and you up the ante. Then I want the same amount of tax dollars put inside that a subsidy to and make it reparation for Black people. Then everybody else get off of it, but Black Americans who could prove that they have ancestors that was in this country as slaves, and yeah, they get the benefit only and solely for those from those subsidies, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Foolish. I see what you're trying to do there, but no, it's not working. Stop it, Andrew.
Well, therefore, if it's the case that we're following your code of justice, which is to give what is due, right, and justice demands reparations, then
you're forgetting the first premise of that argument.
Stop, bro. Then Black people would have to correct this injustice by giving to whites what is their due.
Andrew, you can't use premise 2 of my argument while neglecting premise 1, which is in this case, did Black Americans cause any lasting economic harm for 200 plus years to white Americans?
Well,
yes or no,
no.
But, right. Okay, then. So what you're saying, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, why would it matter if it was 30
Andrew.
years? Why would it matter if it was 200 or 30 years?
Andrew, you already answered the question. That follow-up does nothing.
Why would it matter if it was 200 or 30 years?
Even if we confine it, even if we go back and confine it to the era of Jim Crow, did Black Americans create any legal barrier for full economic participation for white Americans at any point in American history?
Yes.
What legal barrier did Black Americans create that prevented white Americans
from receiving disproportionate benefits?
That is not a legal barrier that was created. Let me restate the question because you might have missed it.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the idea of
Black
justice.
Americans. What legal barrier did Black Americans create?
That has no bearing on the argument.
It has a lot of bearing on the argument.
No, it doesn't.
My initial premise was that the U.S. government caused lasting economic harm to Black Americans. So it does have a legal barrier.
We're talking about,
you choose to try to conveniently ignore, but I won't allow you to do it.
Okay, great. Am I allowed to respond now or no? Okay, great.
No, please. I'm waiting for it actually.
Great. So when we're looking at premise one, USA caused measurable harm. Now you say that means government-backed policy, which was discriminatory towards Black people. How do I know? Because I wrote it down to make sure that we had it clear. If that's the case, then all we have to do for the USA to cause measurable harm to white people is say that the government has backed policy, which was discriminatory towards white people. If it's the case that they're taking more from white people to disproportionately compensate Black people, I consider that said policy discriminatory. And then under your views of justice, which require restitution, and justice is giving what is due, it would now be Black priority to give reparations to white people to correct this injustice by your own logic, sir.
No, it would not be.
Yes, it would. I just walked you through your own logical syllogism.
What you're saying, this is just fucking hilarious. The reason that Black people even have a conversation around reparations the reparations conversation would not exist if the U.S. federal government had not committed acts of measurable economic harm to Black Americans. Let's start with that. Especially if we confine it, because at the start of this debate, I said I wouldn't even address slavery because of the length of time that has elapsed. Black Americans did not dominate the socio-economic and political structure of the country for the same length of time that white Americans did, especially if we're just confining it to the past 60 years or the Jim Crow era, excuse me. And so there's no way that you could make that argument logically consistent because white Americans are the ones.
Yes, I can. I'll show you how.
White Americans are the ones that voted for the very programs that you're talking about. So what you're saying is that now they should owe that to themselves, which again is not logically consistent, but that's the net end of the logic you're using.
No, it's not. And I'll explain again. So if we look at federal income taxes specifically, Asian Americans pay the most in federal income taxes per capita. Next is white Americans. They pay the most in per capita, then Hispanics, and last is Black, which means that Blacks are disproportionately taking more than their fair share of benefits out of the system. If that is the case, then that's a discriminatory policy because you're taking from one group to give to another group, which violates the foundation of the very same principles of the nation you're talking about. So if we follow your syllogism, justice is giving what is due. That's one. And before that, we have the requirement of what justice even is. The U.S. government is the one who determines this, right? The USA caused measurable harm against government, and what measurable harm is government-backed policy, which is discriminatory towards black people. Okay, I'll just invert it. Discriminatory towards white people. If this is
Andrew,
the
there's
case,
no
then
evidence
white
that
people
you could
deserve,
give.
whites
There's
and
no
Asians
evidence
deserve
that you could give
reparations.
the government is discriminatory towards white Americans when white Americans dominate the political power structure of this country. Unless you're going to make the argument that white people are somehow discriminatory against themselves, which would be stupid to say, that doesn't make any logical sense.
How does that not make logical sense?
So basically what he's saying is that since it was predominantly ran by white people, right, the government, right, it was a representation of its constituents, right? So even though white people may have not had anything to do with the oppression of black people, right, talking about the citizens, you voted that way. Like you did that for a reason. You was okay with it for a reason, right? Because it benefited you. Keeping black people down benefited white people. Why? I don't know. It just from what I could see from what happened, that's what happened, right? White people benefited from the downfall of black people. Why did they allow it to happen? I don't know. Were they fair enough to be like, you know what, they are people. Maybe we should stop allowing the government to do that. No, they eventually done it, right? They eventually did it, but the damage is already done, right? Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Black Panther Party dismantled. Now good. Now you can keep trying to regroup because we got your Tookie Williams and all the other foolish individuals who created the game banging thing and drugs in the neighborhood and all that foolishness, right? CIA planted drugs in the neighborhood. Now trying to get it together. We're building off a foundation that doesn't work, right? It doesn't work, and they knew it did not work. That's why they're backing off now and blaming us for the problem that they created. It's easier, right? But when it comes to this situation, it's not enough black people to take to abstract so much from the system. It's more white people than it is black people, right? We could be on it. We could be on it more disproportionately as far as per capita, but it's not enough of us to take a strain on the system. It's not, right? It's not enough for us to take the strain on the system. It's mostly white people on that, okay? Mostly white people, all right? And mind you, to get back to my argument, it cannot be reparations because everybody benefit from this program. It's not specifically tied to only black people, right? So your argument does not make any sense. It's not like you giving us help, you're helping us, you're helping everybody. It's everybody's system, not just our system.
I don't understand.
Because why would what you're saying implies that white America would discriminate against itself?
Yeah, why would the key of justice here be a requirement that even if whites proposed an injustice and blacks were the beneficiary of said injustice, say similar to how Andrew must now pay for the injustice of people that he was not responsible for, why would the racial demographic of that matter in order to promote justice? Justice here being your syllogism.
What you're talking about, that's not justice.
Because Andrew, you benefited from it, even though you didn't vote for it or you didn't do anything. You did well, I'm not blaming you. I'm sure you weren't there at the time, but nobody did anything about it. They were okay with us being marginalized and not being able to participate in the wealth growth of in America. That honey pot of America, we weren't able to participate in it. Everybody was okay with that. Why was they okay with it? They benefited from it. They was okay with it. And it had no. Everybody was worried about their own thing. Okay, so what? It don't affect me, so I'm not tripping. Okay, so while we're sitting here being marginalized, you could, if anything, right? And this is my conclusion. If anything, shut up. Don't have an opinion about what we got going on as far as black people, because you didn't carry it in. You didn't carry it in. But when we ain't got it together, y'all got everything to say as if it just started that way. No, it didn't start that way. But guess what? It took the compliance of the American people, just like us being overtaxed for something that we don't agree with. It took the compliance of the American people for that to happen to us. So since it took the compliance from the American people, then if anything, right? If anything, take it upon yourself to opt out of fucking criticizing us. How about that? Take it upon yourself to opt out of criticizing us because you really don't care. You really don't care what happened to us. You really don't want to reconcile. Because if anything, if I wanted to fix the black people, right, and poverty is one of the most benefactors of crime, right? If you really wanted to fix your black brother and you tired of that and you really care about us and you got that black fatigue, give us what we deserve as far as wealth. Give us the access to, give us the wealth the access to wealth that we were banned from taking a part of to fix what was done to us purposely. It wasn't banned because we were bad people. We were banned because we would just have different skin from you, right? It's wrong, right? But we got here for a reason. It's not just because we wanted to be here. No, we got here for a reason. It was the compliance of American people because somehow, some way, they agreed. They sat back long enough to let it happen to us. Nobody was complaining then. Nobody cared. But now they got black fatigue now. Even though most of the black crime doesn't affect them. It affects the black people the most. But they got the most to say. They're tired. They're tired of us going through stuff like that. So if you're tired for me and you care about me, how about you make it right? Give black people access to ownership, home ownership. Matter of fact, don't tax black people. Like let's have no taxes, no taxes for X amount of years. No, you're not okay with that. You want us to keep. So what? You want us to act and pretend as if we start on the same playing field. As long as you work hard, everything will change for you, right? Your family dynamic, as far as as far as the destruction of the black community, all you got to do is do what's good for you, right? Knowing damn well I was born and raised in it, because something happened in my community, right? But I'm supposed to disregard that and act like it never happened because that's the right thing to do, right? Be robust and stoic. But I don't know it's wrong because I grew up in it. How do I know it's wrong? How do I know? I grew up in it. But disregard that. Be stoic and I don't know, man. I just feel like black people are not allowed to be human in this country. They were not. We are put under a magnifying glass, told to just make it out. I don't give a fuck what you've been through. Make it out. And even countries, it's like saying Mexico or Guatemala or whatever, or Syria. Come on, just stop slaving people. Just stop the slavery, man. Come on, cut it out. I know Gaddafi was unalived and he was framed and stuff like that. So what? Make it out. Stop. You talk about and that's a country. You talking about a small community that was taken advantage of and manipulated, right? You talking about a small community. You telling us to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. The countries can't even do it, and they got their own culture. They been had their own culture, and they ain't so discombobulated by the targeting by this country. But we supposed to be the ones to say forget it. And let me find a way to make it. Let me just figure it out. Even though I was born and raised in this foolishness, as far as this culture that was given to us, right? Because we wasn't allowed to have Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. We weren't allowed to have the Black Panther Party. We weren't allowed to grow up in that because it taught us how to treat one another and how to respect our skin color and how to respect one another and respect our family, right? That was too much for this country. You had to create this bad boy pan-sagging bull crap because it helps. I don't know who it helps. I don't know what's the benefit of that. I don't understand why America wanted to do that. If you wanted us to win, if you wanted us to truly keep going and keep going on the road of after slavery, all right, and not asking for shit and saying, you know what, we're gonna make our own stuff. We stopped asking for stuff. We did it on our own, but y'all didn't care. Nobody cared. So what? Be stoic. Forgive. Even though that you kept having to get stumped on the ground. It's not freaking right. And if you're an American and you care about your fellow American, how could you accept that for us? How could you tell us to accept that? How can you tell us to grow from that? You can't grow from that. You can't. Or if we do grow from that, it's going to take generations. It's not going to stop just because you said stop. Right? The person that's judging you, if you're not offering a helping hand, just shut the hell up. Don't criticize because you're not willing to help. All you're doing is pointing the finger. You're looking at the community from the outside in, saying, "Oh, y'all dysfunctional. How did we get here? Oh no, that doesn't matter. It does matter. How'd you get to where you at? Oh, culture, because you just bring it up. Well, white people, we look at stuff differently. Okay, you were allowed to do that. Imagine if this country said, no, you're not allowed to build a family. You're not allowed to do that, sir. Right? And they are doing that now. And now white people are starting to see. Now, back then, it used to be propaganda and lies. And that used to be a conspiracy theorist. Oh, the government is attacking black people. Nowadays, white America could see it. White America could understand it and see that the government will target certain people, right? And that happened with what's our president name that got unalived? Kennedy, right? It's not just black people that they after. It's everybody. They get anybody if you ain't talking the right way, right? But before then, Nobody believed it. It was just a angry man that was it was just an angry man who took Kennedy's life. No, it's foolish and it's a lie, bro. It's proof that the government is very much so involved in the downfall of the black community. You have to agree to that. If you don't agree to that, then something wrong with you. You don't want to. And it needs to be reconciled because they took a part in destroying the black community while white people stood by and just let it happen. Well, you knew it was wrong. What went through you now? What made you say, you know what? All right, black people, we are segregated. I do like the segregation because they're not causing crime. They're not bothering us. They are drinking from their fountain. Let me stop the government from bothering them. No. You allowed it. So guess what? When it's all said and done, don't have a voice to the degeneracy that's happening. We got to fix that. We are the ones that's not benefiting from it the most. We're the ones that's hurting from it the most. But yet you got black fatigue. How? Where is it starting from? Turn off your fucking, just like you used to tell us when we look, if we talking about white people are chomos, white people are masked unalivers. Well, turn off the TV. Why are you watching that foolishness? You turn off it's not happening in real life. Not happening all the time. Turn off the TV. All you got to do is don't go to the hood and turn off your TV to change the algorithm nowadays. And you won't see that shit. We got to live through it. So how do you have black fatigue? Where is it coming from? It's just now it's just a saying. Now I'm thinking that it's a trend. You just want to say it because you want to fit in. It's not that you got some real life experience of black people harming you. And if you do, that's a person harming you. It's not a black people thing. It's a person. Because I bet you it's a whole bunch of black people that got them being marginalized just because they black. Oh, well, are pointed out a stereotype just because they black. Is it fair? Hell no. But I'm sure they got stories, but that don't make it right for them to hate white people or say, oh, I'm just tired of white people. I'm just so tired of white people. I kick it to black people too. Wrong. Wrong is wrong. Right is right. But you got to understand that this dysfunction of black people did not start out of nowhere. We didn't wake up one day from wearing suits to sagging our ass and showing our behind. It logically don't make any sense. Okay, the government has targeted us, and I keep bringing that point up because everybody sat back when it was happening to us, and we accepted it. We accepted it, and we became whatever. I think that black people are very much so adaptable people, right? If we are getting hurt and being bothered over and over and over, eventually you're gonna change. It's just what it is. That's even animals. You keep putting them in environments to not win. Eventually they gonna build. Let's say you put a bear in an environment where it's all fish and that's all he eats, right? He gonna eventually adapt not webbed claws, but whatever. He gonna it makes it better for him to swim. Why? Evolution. Same thing with black people or any people. You put them in an environment, they become of the environment. But they knew that. This is not nothing new. This is how they disrupt other countries. They take out leaders, they put leaders in to that they can control. That's what happened to us. It happened to us first. Okay? That CIA operation happened to us first. Right? And then it branches off. But you have to admit that it happened. Okay? How do we reconcile? Because this generation is fucked. They're part of the 80s, and the 80s babies raised us. What do you expect? When does it stop? Where? This shit just started, bro. We just now figuring out that that's wrong. Fathers out the home. This government assistance that Andrew was talking about that was given to us, and we should be thankful for that. It's convenient, but it's an underlying message. You heard what that president said. If I give them black folks this, them N-words this is going to keep them voting Democrat. All right? We're not stupid. We got enough information to understand what happened to us. Okay? And y'all got enough information to understand what happened to us if you truly want to understand it. Don't just sit there and judge. You understand why. Just like your wife, right? Andrew Wilson's wife talks about feminism and how it disrupted not only the black community, but the white women, basically. Not only white women, the Western countries. Right? The culture. It was meant for that. It was meant to not have children. It was meant to keep us keep us as a society down, right? It wasn't just built just to it wasn't just built to make women free. No, it convinced women that was stuck in a home, taken care of, didn't have to go to work, didn't have to slave for a boss. It convinced them that and had a husband that came home every day. It wasn't perfect. I'm not saying he was perfect, but he came home every day, right? And did what he's supposed to do as a man. It convinced them women to go outside the home and say, I want to work. Matter of fact, I want to get rid of my family. Matter of fact, I don't want to have children anymore. Matter of fact, I'm bigger than a man. Matter of fact, I could do anything a man could do. Matter of fact, forget men. Matter of fact, men are disgusting. Matter of fact, I pick a bear over a man. That's how strong the CIA operation is. But you expect this small, minute community, right? The black community, to just figure it the fuck out when y'all ain't figured it out. That's how strong this shit is. It's happening in y'all community to where Andrew's wife is coming out with books to explain how this shit happened. But we're not dealt with that same grace. We have to, so what if it happened to you? When your wife is talking to women and trying to get them to understand that you were brainwashed. This was happening to you on purpose. You got to wake up. You got to stop this. But we're not dealt with that same love. And that's the problem that we have in this country. Yes, some shit come out as excuses, but sometimes that shit is true. Sometimes if a black person told you what happened, it's true. If you see me running, you better fucking run. Okay? We've been telling you that the government's corrupt. We've been telling you it's two-sided. Now you starting to see what the government with this Amy Coney Barrett, right? When it comes to the birthright citizenship. Black people been saying this shit the whole time. These people are one and the same. Democrat, Republican, one and the same. But now people are starting to see it. Now we say it's the swamp. We renamed it swamp. Swamp. They're all into it with each other. That used to be conspiracy. That used to be weird. Like how? No. Republican and Democrat is different. No, it's not. They're politicians. They lie, cheat, steal. Rules for thee and not for me. It happened to us first. It happened to us first. Now y'all figuring it the hell out and telling us to, so what? Pick yourself out of bootstraps. Shut up, bro. If anything, if you're not going to help, shut your mouth, bro. Criticism, it helps to a certain point as far as holding people accountable, but it's starting to get to a point where it's trendy now. It's just trendy. It's not about trying to change and figure out how you can help these people get their life together, because we know the truth. But we so much in this for real that knowing the truth ain't going to change it. I promise you. Okay? Knowing the truth ain't going to change it, because you got CIA operatives, right? You got dudes that come to the hood trying to build a case because they want some time off them, who claim they in your best interest. But they trying to build a case. Hey, buy this, man. He just built one on you. He tied in with the CIA. He wired up. You got to keep this crime going. They have an incentive to keep crime going. Just like in Los Angeles, the homeless is built to keep them homeless, because if there is no homeless, there's no need for the funding, right? So I got to keep people homeless. This is why they having out free needles. Pick your drug of choice. Matter of fact, I want to make sure that you got clean needles, man, and you should use those drugs, because I care about you. They don't care. They don't care. We're now figuring out the real truth. The Epstein file. We're figuring out the real truth, bro. And this is what black people have been going through. They tried on us first. The same thing with the inoculation, right? The jab. Now Fauci is looking to be prosecuted, right? Judged because of lies. They tried to. You seen a video when he went to the black community and knocked on a black guy door and said, "Hey, are you gonna take this vaccine? Are you gonna do this?" Black dude looking at him like, "No, I ain't taking that." Then they shamed him. Even they used a black woman to do it for Fauci. They come to us first with the shit, bro. You get a free burger. Free burger to put the secret sauce up in you. You get fries. Come on, black people. Come on. Hillary Clinton with the Kool-Aid or with the hot sauce in her. Joe Biden. If you won't vote for me, you can't be black. This is how they feel about us. We're under attack constantly by these people who claim that not all skin folk can vote. Knowing damn well they implanting these people in our community. I see it because I'm smart. I can read between the lines. It's like football to me. You sending people that look like me to tell me what to believe and tell me who to vote for. Blitz. Oh, that's a blitz for sure. They train them to come to us and talk like us. They don't believe in us. They don't like us. They living in Martha's Vineyard, coming down here to tell me who to vote for, trying to shame me into voting for them. We're under attack constantly. It didn't start here though. It didn't start here. They need black people to do what they're doing because it gives them something to talk about. And yeah, we at some point we got to take accountability because we know the truth. We choose not to do better, but every day the next generation is being born under this false pretense of culture. It's not culture. It's being fed to us. It's the reason why it's so popularized. The bad demon culture, unaliving other black people, right? And then when Charleston White come out and say that F this, F that, F that hood, and F this hood, everybody can't stand them. It's a reason why it's called propaganda, programming. Andrew understands how strong propaganda is. That's one of his talking points. Put good propaganda out to make people get married. You always put the bad propaganda out, the gay BCs and all that other foolishness. Why don't you put the good stuff out, right? Just like with smoking cigarettes. Back then, it was normal. People wanted to smoke cigarettes because of propaganda. You know how strong propaganda is, but when it comes to us, we got to be exempt. We got to just understand. So what? You get it, understand, right? Part of the reason why he probably smoked, because he thinks smoking is okay. He's seen his father do it, X, Y, Z. But when it comes to us, we're not given the same grace of understanding why we are the way we are and how we got here. I will be ashamed of my government. I don't care who changes, switch scenes, and whatever. When we don't talk about these points, we don't get anywhere. When we don't talk about fixing it and how we got here, we don't get anywhere. And it's done on purpose. Shut your mouth, young man. You see Jay-Z. He don't represent me. You see Jay-Z. He made it out. Why you can't make it out? Not everybody want to be a freaking rapper, bro. A rapper shouldn't even be a thing. It shouldn't be a way out. Right? All I'm saying is this, bro. All I'm saying is this. Black people are Americans as well. It's just what it is. I just happen to have a different. I was born and raised in a tough spot, right? I'm not saying white people wasn't either, but I'm saying that we have different plights when it comes to where we grew up at. You don't understand my culture. I don't understand your culture. I never done a drug in my life, never. But I game banged before. Why? Because the culture's so strong. When I went to Utah, they don't game bang. They do drugs. Okay, big drugs. Why do these white kids do drugs? I don't know. I can't understand it because I would never do it. I seen how it turned out. I look at the 80s. Crack epidemic. I don't want nothing to do with that. I don't want nothing in my body I can't control, because what will make a man leave his family and destroy his family that way and keep just sell to his community? I don't want nothing to do with that. I will game man because I grew up on that. In the 90s. Time of that. That's what it was. In elementary, I knew where I wanted to be from. As far as what I wanted to represent as a man, as a game banger. I wanted to be that. The programming, the propaganda, it matters. Colors, right? Charleston White talks about it. The colors, how it affected them in Texas. That's how strong the propaganda was. This wasn't done just to be lollygagging and fun. No, it's done. It's psychological operations to get the results that you want. If I'm a devious government, I will put that in your face. Especially if I want you to lose, and I'll get rid of it. And the reason I know it's true is because they do it to other countries all the time. It's like play by play of how they do it. This is how I know it happened. Play by play. I get rid of all these folks that's not doing what I want them to do. I don't like these people. I don't want them to win, because when they're winning and not causing crime, I'm still complaining about them. They just in the way. You're just in the way. You you on the bus with us as far as white people? I can't stand you. Get your own bus. You got your own bus? Okay, fuck. Well, what else can I look at? That's a problem. Oh, Malcolm X, he getting too loud. Although he ain't preaching about hurting nobody. Martin Luther King, he ain't preaching about hurting nobody. I don't give a fuck about his past or what he did with others. I'm talking about his message. He didn't walk around looking like a fucking felon. Y'all didn't want him. America did not want him. I'm talking about the government. They didn't want him. They took him away for a reason. Black Panther Party, they weren't trying to hurt nobody, but they was going to protect the neighborhood. for the KKK, whoever came over here playing, because they're allowed to own guns just as we're Americans just as much as you. Y'all didn't see it at the time. What I mean by y'all is the government society. They didn't see it at the time. Just because it took you forever to catch up does not mean we haven't been struggling the whole time for you to catch up. That's your fault. You just caught up. We've been struggling, bruh. We've been going through this. So of course we're gonna feel a certain way about that. Of course. It took you a while. Yeah, got it. We knew it was human before you knew we was human. But now we got a lollygag and act like that shit don't matter. It just don't matter anymore. So what? Now pick it, buy a lake house. Oh, that's $3,000. That's $3 million. Where am I gonna find that at? We'll find a good job. I don't know. Well, how'd your grandma get it? Oh, she just, ran into it. She worked for an insurance company, and then she got it. I can't have the same conversation with you. You don't think that's unfair? You don't think that's not unfair? You so stuck in what you got going on, you don't give a fuck about your fellow American. But when we out in that field, Americana, baby, let's get it. I live my life every day like we on that field because I know the value of my brother. I don't give a fuck if you white or black. No matter. But you got to understand my plight to understand why we do what we do. And if you don't want to hear it, don't hear it. Fine. You don't got to hear it. Don't say shit about us. Because you don't want to hear it. That's fine. You don't got to. Shut up. It's easier just to be quiet. You don't got to have an opinion. Because it doesn't matter to you. If I live or die, it doesn't matter to you. I know it. This is why I have a point of contention. This is why I don't like certain people. Because they want to talk, but they don't want to help. I ain't talking about give me money, but helping could be understanding why we do the shit that we do. Most of the crime we commit is because of gang shit. Well, he took my homie out. It in real life is understandable. Logic, body for body. It's logical. It's stupid as shit. Yeah, it turns into murder. I get it. Is it wrong? Hell yeah, it's wrong. But man, when you in war, tribal. Let's bring it back. This is bare roots of how shit go. Not trying to justify it. But I'm trying to make you understand where it come from. Y'all did it too when back in y'all days. We can talk about all the mobsters. This shit ain't made up. This ain't no new shit. It's been this way. At least we ain't unaliving kids at schools that ain't got nothing to do with nothing just to prove what are we proving? Most of our shit is backed by something. Why? Why is the person doing what he doing? Right? Everybody making a joke about Julio Fulio unalivers. Okay, but Julio Fulio was doing the same shit to them. But they got, most of those dudes was crying because they got caught because nobody wouldn't do that time. But that's the culture we living in, right? But it's explainable. What I'm saying is that it's explainable. Nobody could explain the serial unaliving of women. Nobody could explain that. Not saying black people didn't do it either, but majority, a lot of shit that y'all do was unexplainable. But y'all look at us like we just criminals. We just putting pain on everybody. We just violent. No. Real violent people is backed by you just doing shit just to do it. I'm stealing because I'm trying to eat. I want to win. But shit, you can understand why I'm doing it. Is it wrong? Fuck yeah. No excuses. Got it. But it's logic running around while I'm doing what I'm doing. Now, if a person just start messing with kids on the weird. Why are you doing it? There's no explaining. Taking an innocent life, going inside the church, taking somebody's life. Why are you bugging them? There's no reason. It's just so y'all do shit for no. That's real evil. That's evil. Because there's nothing backed by anything. I can't even pinpoint where you got it. What you was trying to get at? Huh? It don't even make sense. Y'all do shit like that, but do we use it against y'all? No. Y'all know how to separate community when it comes to shit like that. No. That's not us. That's him. Okay, but when we do that, no. Per capita. No. Majority black. No, majority. Okay, so what about majority of y'all crimes that y'all commit? Yeah, we unalive black. Yeah, black on black crime. Yeah, we do that. But it's backed by we do it because of this. What y'all do that shit for? I don't know. Is this a mental thing? And is this that person? It's a liberal who done it. Not the skin color. A liberal. Why we can't have that same grace? Why? That's why I can't, bro. I can't. It's not fair. It's not meant to be fair. I understand it. I'm logical and understand. I'm logical enough to understand people that come off as non-biased are usually biased. But they don't hear themselves talk sometimes. They don't want to believe that they are. But they are. Right? We call it racist. But we do it too. For sure, we do it too. On God, we do. But the thing is, it's wrong. You can't be biased. You have to be fair. If not, then what makes it wrong if a person hold that same standard to you? A white supremacist. I hear a whole bunch of black supremacists as well. So we got to check each other, man. We got to check ourselves, check our biases, because if not, it's only going to lead us down a hole of no return. All right? But on this note, we done with the video. Do black people deserve reparations? From what do you think? Right? My thought process is that I understand why black people believe that they deserve reparations. I don't think about slavery. I hear a lot of slavery debates. I think post-slavery, when we had it together, when we were doing great, the government got involved. Why? If you wanted me to leave you alone, leave white people alone, all this other shit, don't cause crime, it wasn't happening. You was coming into my community with the fire hose, bothering people. You were bugging us. We weren't bugging you. You bugged us, right? So when we were doing well, you kept bugging. And then now that you got the result that you wanted, because if somebody we playing football, the defense is destroying me. Sometimes they get off the field, right? They satisfied. I got offense. They ball back. Y'all laid off of us now. Government laid off once you got the result that you wanted. You wanted us to fail, and you got it. You got whatever you asked us to be. We became that, right? So why everybody complaining now? Why? That shit matters, man. It's your boy, man, Coast Gang CB, bro. Want to join Coast Gang? Follow me, bro. I'm here, man. I appreciate you guys. I will be making clips, and thank you for tuning in, man. We out of here. Let's do it again tomorrow.